All right, mic check 1 2 1 2. So first things first, we're gonna go over UFC St. Louis tonight and how appropriate. St. Louis, Derek Lewis started the show, still doing the damn thing, and I gotta tell you, it's one of these situations where going into this fight, one of the thoughts that I had with Derek Lewis going into this fight was, my goodness, I think he's way over the hill right now. This is a certain age where he's not going to be able to close the gap of, let's say, recovery, of, let's say, building new skills. And Derek Lewis, for the most part, really has never built any new skills. What Derek Lewis has and always will have is knockout power. And he showed it tonight by simply allowing that to get him out of trouble. There were a few times where he got taken down, but on top of that, he was also able to show new wrinkles in his game with the takedowns. And I don't know what made him do that. Maybe because he respected this guy's striking in a way that he never really respects anybody else's striking, of course, other than Francis Ngannou. Now, you want to talk about respecting one's striking. I mean, Derek Lewis certainly gave respect to Francis Ngannou's striking nonetheless. And you can tell that by the hesitancy of that particular fight, to which he did none of that tonight, right? He did none of that tonight, and he did none of that in most of his fights because Derek Lewis is a knockout artist and he knows it. So, the stats on this fight tonight, right? You had obviously that one takedown that I had mentioned from Rodrigo Nascimento, right? Derek Lewis was out there clinching him up, even when his corner had warned him of not going Greco Roman with Rodrigo, because obviously they didn't feel that he was going to be sufficient enough in that particular department. So they decided in the corner, hey, you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to have you uh, fight in the center of the cage. And when you fight in the center of the cage, then you bang with him. And that's exactly what Derek Lewis did. He did knock him down. He did attempt 4 takedowns. And I think the majority of those takedowns were from the clinch positions. Now, the striking on Nascimento was quite accurate, surprisingly, right? There were a few times where he did hit Derek Lewis with some jabs there. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? That's bound to happen. The thing is with Derek Lewis, he is quite sloppy in the way that he sort of approaches his fights, right? So what do we have right here? We have Maloney right now on the TV screen fighting this guy named Covera. So I think Maloney is one of these guys that is a bit of a staple in the top ranks promotion and what have you. But nonetheless, yeah, Derek Lewis, like I said, right? He said something very honest. Before we get into like the real kicks and punches of all things, he said something very honest after the fight. What did he say that was really honest? He said, you know what? I'm getting too old for this. Now, look, here's the thing with Derek Lewis. He banters around. He likes to joke around. You don't know if that's really the real behind what he's saying or if he's just saying that just to be a colorful character that he always is, right? And then how about the fact that he went and threw out his shorts in the middle of the stance and had a bunch of people catch it, even had one of the people over there take one of his cups, his actual cup that he took out of his underwear and gave it to one of the journalists sitting front row as some sort of a souvenir, right? I could imagine what kind of auction money he could get out of that, especially from some billionaire or millionaire MMA fan, right? And I don't know who would want Derek Lewis's jock strap, right? I mean, like I understand there's some kind of historical significance in terms of sports and that, but still at the same time, I don't know, man. You know, I get the sports memorabilia thing, but at the same time, it's not really the not my cup of tea. Okay, cup. Yeah, not my cup of tea. No pun intended in that. So in a co-main event, you had Joaquin Buckley. First of all, shout out to his call out to Conor McGregor. Look, here's the thing: you got to go out and shoot your shot. Right now, this is something that Joaquin Buckley sort of learned from that knockout that he had against Impa Kasangai. That famous knockout he did where Kasangai caught one of his legs, he spinned back around and kicked him with the other leg while Kasangai was holding onto his legs and then knocked him out. It was a viral moment during the pandemic. And as a result of that, well, Joaquin Buckley really thought in his mind, you know what? The UFC got me, bro. They're going to be here to facilitate me in the promotion that I need. They're going to put me in talk shows. They're going to put me in Jimmy Kimmel like I was Suge Knight. They're going to put me in David Letterman or whoever the talk shows that are out there right now in the mainstream world. They're going to put me out there with Shannon and Sharp, of which none of that happened. It just never materialized for Joaquin Buckley. And I think one of the things that Joaquin Buckley is sort of learning about the fight business is that it's not just so much about the performance that you put on in the cage, although that's very important because there are guys out there that have big names, but if they're not performing correctly, guess what? Even with a win, they're not going to give them any title shots or any promotion or any type of clout or anything like that. Well, Joaquin Buckley, it was kind of crazy what he said about Conor McGregor. What was he saying? Was he saying you are a hoe or Danielle says here, look up the City Life Project and chuck us out, man. I'm gonna try to get them down over here. Maybe mini raid. Oh, so you're going to get them to do a mini raid on my channel? Is that what you're saying? Okay. I'm definitely down for that. Yeah, I welcome any raids. I mean, I tell you what, like it sounds such a negative connotation raid, right? Especially if you come from an urban city environment where raid means something negative where the police are coming to your house and basically seizing all your assets like Khabib right now with the Russian government. Wow. Jesse on Fire came out with a video on that. I may just react to it as we are doing a live stream to this fight with Lomachenko. I mean, obviously, Maloney is fighting right now in the 11th round against Guevara. Let's be honest, if you're an MMA guy, nobody really cares about that. Okay, but let's respect all the fighters anyway and this and that. But hey, we're going to make this as entertaining as possible, right? We're here for Kambosos and Lomachenko, but we're also here for the UFC. Danielle here says he comes from a long line of hoes, is what Buckley said. So, okay, that right there is one of those yo mama jokes, and I'm going to diss your whole entire family and make you do something about it type of ordeal, right? Which I think is very brilliant on Joaquin Buckley's part because he is learning something that Conor McGregor already knows how to do naturally, which is what? Trash talk, drum up interest on the fight. Now, did he drum up any interest in this particular fight? Look, here's the thing, guys. Call outs against guys that are already busy or that have a schedule coming up. I don't know where you're going to go with that other than the fact that, okay, well, I guess you just got to wait around until June 29th and somewhere in June 30th to where you have to wait for the results of whether Conor McGregor wants to fight you or not. And by the way, I don't even know if Conor, well, I was going to say Conor is probably not watching this, but in the past, we've known Conor McGregor to be the type to answer all the calls. Not only answer all the calls, watch all the fights, including the ones that are in the Apex, right? If you notice that one famous video of Conor McGregor walking back and forth as he is watching Max Holloway fight in the Apex Center. If you guys remember that, he was sort of visualizing himself fighting Max Holloway as a result of him fighting in the Apex Center. But anyways, Joaquin Buckley has learned, bottom line, that it takes a whole lot more than just a highlight reel knockout kick that Donald Trump saw and Donald Trump shared to the rest of the world, which sort of showed the type of MMA fan that he is, right? I mean, Joaquin Buckley is not exactly the biggest name, but guess what? That night he made a big name for himself to the point where even the president at that time had couldn't deny him of recognition. But it takes a little bit more than that. It takes a little bit of your personality. You see, I noticed something, and by the way, I may react to Jesse on Fire's video about Khabib and his assets being seized by the Russian government. By the way, I may just do that and see what all that is about because I haven't seen the video. By the way, I just saw Jesse on Fire talk about it on a headline in one of my YouTube recommendations, but I never really got to see it because I was too busy watching these fights. We'll go over that. We'll take a look at that and see what that's about. I believe there's some interesting details that we could probably pick out of that and just see what's sort of going on, right? And considering I don't know anything about it, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be live as we talk about it. But let's also talk about these other fights as well before we get into that, right? Now, how about this 12-second knockout right here? Carlos Ulberg against Alonzo Menifield. Now, obviously, not much to go off of here. 4 shots attempted by Alonzo, all of them missed. 3 of them were missed. Carlos Ulberg was just swinging away. He just caught him at the right place at the right time. I got to tell you, sometimes when you see an early knockout like this, it's sort of not always indicative of the type of skills that is in front of you. Like, yes, do we know that Carlos Ulberg is capable of knockouts? 100%. He just displayed it right then and there. Not only did he display that he was capable of these knockouts, but he was also displaying that he's capable of finishing a fight as early as you need to. Because when you're talking about lucky shots, when we talk about how MMA is a very 50-50 coin flip type of scenario, not like boxing where usually the guy who is the most skilled or the guy who is the most experienced or the guy who is a seasoned champion will always win. Whereas with MMA, you just never know. Is there a place in the universe where Alonzo Menifield knocks out Carlos Ulberg? Yes, that's a possibility. But in this particular universe, in this particular day and time, it was Carlos Ulberg that scored that 12-second knockout against Alonzo Menifield. And as a result, we don't really know a lot about Carlos Ulberg or the type of developments that he has. For example, there was no grappling exchanges in this fight whatsoever. It was just all hard hitting exchanges, swings, haymakers, and whatnot. And it's not really indicative of anything that we know Carlos Ulberg's style to be, right? We don't know how he's going to deal with, let's say, wrestling, or we've seen him get knocked out and slept before, right? But that's a whole nother story. But again, people in his camp have been slept on before and have came back and fought over and over again. And again, that's just something that he's going to be able to learn from being part of City Kickboxing. But nonetheless, shout outs to Carlos Ulberg and his massive win. Obviously, this is going to propel him into the rankings of some sort and get better competition and bigger names in the process. Now, how about this? Diego Ferreira taking on Matsuis Rebekish. So, a lot of takedowns and a lot of grappling exchanges here, but Diego Ferreira had the better exchanges in terms of the striking. 55% total strikes, significant strikes 51, 38 and 41% for Mateus Rebekshi. And that is all they wrote right there. El-Kheer versus Sean Woodson. Now, this right here, I really enjoyed watching Sean Woodson's work right here. It was just absolutely amazing. The elusivity that he was fighting with, not only that, just the constant frantic movement that he was faking El-Kheer, I think was really genius. Look, here's the thing about El-Kheer. I've been watching this guy fight for a very long time. He's obviously been a long time staple in the UFC. During the time when he came into the Ultimate Fighter house, he was one of Dana White's favorites, right? I mean, obviously, he's got a nickname like Bruce Leroy and a longtime Bruce Lee fan in Dana White. Couldn't help but feel a bit biased towards El-Kheer. And here's another thing that's really Bruce Lee-like about El-Kheer. He's also sort of a very elusive fighter. But tonight, Sean Woodson showed different levels in this particular case, right? I mean, this guy is a decorated amateur. I don't know so much about decorated. I don't know if he's won any Golden Glove titles or anything like that, but that guy's had over 40 to 60 amateur fights in his entire boxing career. And then obviously transitioned into MMA and used those skills in order for him to get where he's at in the featherweight division. Very tall for a featherweight, right? Almost looks like a John Jones version of the featherweights in there, right? Again, that's also very similar to the other fight tonight with Joaquin Buckley and Nursulon Rubecic. Now, this fight right here with Nursulon, I mean, this is a guy who's 6'5", 6'6", fighting at 170 pounds, right? That is a tall order. And again, Sean Woodson is no different than that. But Sean Woodson showed what a guy with technical boxing skills can do in this particular level. And this is the reason why he was able to win tonight. Obviously, the striking percentage was on his side. The volume was also on his side. There was a good amount of volume for Alex Caceres, but Sean Woodson was just more of the technical guy, and ultimately that's what won him the fight. And speaking of technical, Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Robles de Pange. Now, Robles was sent to the UFC to basically become the second coming of Francis Ngannou. And what happened? Well, he sort of experienced the same things that Francis Ngannou has experienced all throughout his career. Now, he's a knockout artist, big guy, heavy hands. And even better for Robles, he's not only a heavy handed fighter, he's also a kicker because obviously he's a Taekwondo champion in the Olympics. Tonight, that wasn't good enough, right? Just like what Francis Ngannou had suffered in his first loss in the regional scene in France, just like his second loss against Stipe Miocic, and so on and so forth, and just like the draw that he had experienced with Derek Lewis, right? You live and you learn, and this is one of those situations where, you know what? He had no answer for any takedown defense whatsoever. He was taken down easily. The ground control time of Waldo ultimately is what won this fight. Even with the striking percentage, I mean, you obviously have to give it to Waldo, considering that with whatever angle in MMA or whatever compository sports you can compare between them, in every metric, he could not find where Waldo was at. And all pun intended on that. Now, how about this? Oh, split decision by Pedro Caveira against Maloney, that Australian fighter right now. I believe this fight is in Perth, Australia right now. So, yeah, split decision, very controversial decision on that one. As we are covering the UFC fights right now, while we are also going to react to Lomachenko versus Kambosos tonight. So let's see here. Yeah, Robles has a lot to learn. Obviously, this is a bad loss, but it's not the worst loss. It's not like he got slept. He will be back again. They will probably match him up with an opponent that has less wrestling on his side. Now, how about this? Chase Hooper gets a submission. It was one of these situations where not only did Chase Hooper use his striking to get the opponent on the ground, to get Borchevich on the ground, but he also followed up and used his prowess that even if Borchevich wasn't rocked the way that he was with that uppercut early in the fight, I think that the ground transitions would have gone the same way. And it just so happens that, again, that's the beauty of mixed martial arts, right? You can mix up the striking and then go into the grappling just right after that. And that's exactly what he did. So once again, it wasn't really a lot that Vasily could do here. I mean, look at the strikes, right? Just barely had any strikes in this particular fight. I mean, there's just a few exchanges they had on the feet, and then next thing you know, it was just full ground control by Chase Hooper. And again, a little controversy here, right? Because when Chase Hooper had him in that submission hold, it just seemed that Vasily tapped only once. And as a result of that, he just decided, you know what? I didn't tap. But again, I think it's one of those buyer's regret type of situations where, yes, you go in there and you sort of, I guess, I don't know, think that, uh, like, I don't know, man. I think that he wasn't expecting to get rocked by Chase Hooper like this, right? And the way that Chase Hooper followed up afterwards, I mean, he had no he had no reaction or anything towards him at all. I mean, look, 50 punches in the first round, right? 50 in a few a couple of rounds in the first few minutes of the round, and it was just like, wow. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, Maloney was saying that he was dealing with an injury as we were watching the undercard of Kambosos and Lomachenko right now. So yeah, great for Chase Hooper. Very controversial considering that he tapped once, and again, a buyer's regret on his part per se, right? Even Uriah, who was in his corner, sort of complained about it, but that is uh that is the end of the night right there. So Terrence McKenna, now that was a devastating knockout head kick right there. That was done in the first round. I mean, just absolutely devastating, right? I hope that Terrence McKenna bounces back from that. Again, it's just one of these things, right? This is one of these situations where uh mixed martial arts really becomes a coin toss, and it just so happens that Esteban was just at the right place at the right time to catch Terrence McKenna with his hands down while he got the head kick knockout in that particular instance. Tabitha Ritchie, how about this? The significant other of boxer Callum Walsh, a boxer who, by the way, is sponsored by the UFC. So good on her. 1 out of 10 takedown attempts, right? So she really was going for it on this one, right? With just the grappling exchanges and the clinch exchanges they had going on. 50% strikes on Tabitha Ritchie's part, 37% significant strikes, uh, 39 and 36 for Tisha Torres, or now known as Tisha Pennington. And that is all she wrote right there. Tabitha Ritchie with the decision. Billy Ragoff takes on Trey Waters. He gets a decision in that one. 12 attempts by Billy Ragoff, just wasn't successful at any of them. Trey didn't even get any of the takedowns in that one. And again, this is one of those situations where it depends on the subjectivity of the judge and what they're looking at. And this is one of those fights where they gave it to Trey Waters for whatever reason, right? But it is what it is. Jake Hadley against Charles Johnson. This was a very interesting fight. Very interesting back and forth. Obviously, Charles Johnson scored a knockdown on this one. 11 attempts of takedowns by Jake Hadley. None of them were successful. Basically, there wasn't really any takedowns in this fight. Mostly a stand-up fight with a few takedown attempts and a clinch exchanges by Jake Hadley. Charles Johnson comes off the winner in this one. First fight of the night, Veronica Hardy. Now, I was quite really invested in this particular fight. Obviously, Veronica Hardy, the significant other and wife of Dan Hardy. And what's really interesting about that, right? I mean, Dan Hardy has one of the most brilliant minds in mixed martial arts. And as a result of this brilliant mind in mixed martial arts, he was able to transfer that to a significant other of his that actually competes. And again, this is a reason why I think that Veronica Hardy is going to be a serious problem in the women's flyweight division, right? She's dedicated. Not only that, has Dan Hardy on her side, and what could go wrong, right? And the performance tonight spoke for itself. Great performance on her part. Very crisp striking. Wasn't much takedowns or any uh, grappling exchanges or any ground control time that we could really cite from. But again, brilliant strategy by Dan Hardy. And I think having a coach like that with a very, I'm just going to be honest about it, right? It's not the strongest division in the UFC, right? And with the right coaching and the right athletic ability and pedigree from the sport of MMA and just your game in MMA period, I think she's going to go far just based on that alone. So that is what we have for all the fights tonight with UFC St. Louis. So let's see if we can react to Jesse on Fire's video about Khabib. But if I'm going to do that, I may have to just let's see here. Jesse on Fire. So let's bookmark this right here, right? So first 26 minutes post fight reaction to UFC St. Louis. All right. So okay, let's check this one out right here.
Hi, I'm Alex Bell. And to the point, we don't just report on the problems. We cut through the noise and look for solutions. Join me, Alex Bell, on To the Point, weeknights at 6:30, only on ABC 10.
Happy Nurses Week. I wish all nurses out there financial compensation. And that's all I got.
A lot of people think, oh, we're just giving Tylenol.
All right. So we're going to react to this video right now.
Under investigation with the Russian government. All right. Second time is a charm. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for letting me know that that was an issue. So we are rocking and rolling. I'm watching the prelims, dude. You can consider this a prelim live stream while we talk about the Khabib story. And I also bet I bet pretty heavy on the next fight. But I'll tell you about that shortly as the fight starts. But for anybody who's going to be watching this later, as you can see in the title and thumbnail, Khabib is under investigation with the Russian government. They're saying he owes millions in back taxes. They seized a couple businesses. They froze his bank accounts. It's like it sounds like a pretty serious situation. And this is all based on a couple of reports. I obviously have no ability to verify news coming out of Russia, but obviously it's a really big story with potentially big implications. So I wanted to cover it, since it's out right this second. And we will go through the details, and selfishly we'll discuss whether or not this means there is any chance that he would come back and fight. I'm serious. I don't want to sound, ooh.
Okay, well, look, I'm just going to say it right now. Jesse, even if Khabib gets through this, he's not ever going to fight. And if anything, this particular incident is just going to solidify that. So just wanted to kind of add that in there.
Ooh, Hardy just got clipped. I don't want to sound like this is a really serious thing. You guys know how I am with people's finances, especially like fighters. So I don't at all want to sound like I'm excited that this is happening to Khabib, because I definitely am not. But I'm going to frame the potential that he would fight again in a way where he should be very grateful that.
Well, look, here's the thing that I really want to emphasize with Jesse on Fire, right? I do not think that it is indicative of how he's going to get out of this situation, or whether he's going to fight or not. He's never going to fight, period. Right? And I think that this particular incident will just probably solidify that. And yeah, let's continue on.
That opportunity exists if he really is in a financial situation where he owes millions of back taxes. Because most former athletes, they get trapped in a spot where they've invested all their money and they owe millions in back taxes. They have no option. They certainly do not have options to go make that money, still doing what they used to do. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. And, again, I also am going to talk about Russia doing this. This is, I don't know. This is pretty weird that they would do this to Khabib.
I agree. I agree. There is something strange to that, right? Now, I'm going to offer you guys, let me take off these headsets right here because we're not watching the particular fight right now that we're supposed to react to. But yes, so let me just say this, right? There could be something going on that we don't know. Okay, perhaps maybe some sort of covert ops mission. Uh, Let me give you a speculation, and I'm not saying if this is true or not. There could be a reality to where, let's say, Khabib may have been working with, let's say, a foreign government against Russia in some kind of capacity. And maybe Russia doesn't want to reveal it, okay, because maybe it's embarrassing. Again, I'm giving you hypotheticals here, possible scenarios of why. Layman's terms, the Russian government is going after Khabib due to the reasons of perhaps maybe covert operations that we really don't know anything about. But let's continue on and let's see where Jesse is going with this.
And especially that they would make it public. Isn't Khabib a beloved hero over there? I don't understand. Like even if they had some kind of financial dispute with him, I'm confused by them releasing that information.
I am as well. And again, because you got to understand, Russia is not like America. You see, in America, they don't care about who you are in terms of your notoriety and your fame and what you did for the country in terms of being an Olympic hero or athlete. So none of those things matter in the United States, right? You're either paying your taxes or you're not. And if you're not, well, there's going to be consequences that are going to follow up. In Russia, it just seems like it's one of those countries where it's a good old boys club, right? Where if you are a hero like Khabib, they'll sort of look at the other way. Whereas here in the United States, you're not going to look the other way. But let's continue on.
You know, it's like, because you also know there's no way that if Khabib was still active, you know, like if Khabib was still active and he had a fight coming up against Conor, like they would never release this information. They probably wouldn't even seize his assets. I don't know. I mean, hopefully this story's not true, but this seems.
You know what? There is something to that because I got to tell you, when Khabib visited Vladimir Putin after his Conor McGregor win, there was a few leaked footages. What did my man Hockey from home here say? I just subbed from City Life's channel. Nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you too as well, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for subbing. Let everybody in here. I'm doing a reaction right now as we are watching. I'm from City Life's channel. Okay, so you're one of the guys that he had asked to come and raid over here. That's awesome. All right. Thank you for the support, my man. And don't forget to tell everybody else to come and holler at me. No, not I don't mind that at all. That's perfectly fine. We have no sense of discrimination here whatsoever. So we welcome everybody at every capacity. Hey, the only requirement I require out of anybody is you have to be a mixed martial arts fan. And even if you're not, guess what? I got other topics that I talk about as well. I talk about things that go on in the rap community. I talk about things that go on in the world of politics and how all of this ties into it. And by the way, speaking of all these things tying into it, this is literally what we are experiencing right now is geopolitics and mixed martial arts all rolled into one. And shout outs to everybody from City Life Project for recommending my channel. And I promise you, I'm not going to disappoint you with the content that I drop, inshallah. So let's continue on.
I mean, I verified it through like three different sources, so it seems like it is true. But we'll go through this and then talk about it. So, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I thought he got gifted a property from Putin. So, like, if he's getting gifted properties, why are they breaking his balls over $3 million in tax debt? I don't know. It seems very bizarre. So Russia needs the money. What better way to force someone to give up money than to make it seem like you are betraying the country? I'm confused.
You know, I got to tell you, I've had a few conversations with a few Muslim brothers about this a few years back, right? Because here's something I got to tell you guys. In the Islamic community, there are segments of people that believe that Khabib is not a good Muslim. If you can believe that, right? Now, everybody in the mixed martial arts world truly believes, and obviously I believe this too, because man, I'm a fan of the guy, right? There's guys that are in the Muslim community that don't believe Khabib is a full-pledged Muslim as the way that he should. Why? There is an element of Islamic practices that is anti-dictatorship, anti-oppressor, anti-colonialist, and anti-authority to a certain extent. When you are giving yourself to an authority figure like Putin, you're almost sort of discrediting your Islamic religious zeal of some sort, right? So there is an element of the Muslim community that really doesn't believe in Khabib's Islam. And the reason for that is because he leans towards Vladimir Putin. He leans towards Ramzan Kadyrov. And for people that are in the Muslim world, they really don't look too highly on this. You got to understand something about Ramzan Kadyrov. Ramzan Kadyrov was a former jihadist and became a Russia state-sponsored war fighter. So in other words, he went from one side of being anti-government and then he went into the side of being pro-government. And then when Vladimir Putin came into power, he obviously gave him a position in which he took over the spot of his deceased father back in 2004, where Ramzan Kadyrov was crowned the president or the ruler of Chechnya under Vladimir Putin's thumb, if you will. So why is that important to bring that there's Muslims out there that don't think Khabib is really a good Muslim? Well, for one, the reason why it's important to understand that is because a lot of people judge Khabib for these leanings that he does with these particular dictators, right? But the argument of that is, what are you supposed to do if you're trying to prevent yourself from being a victim of reprisals? So please try to understand that. So in other words, some of the conversations I've had with my friends regarding this was saying, you know what, if Khabib doesn't comply, Vladimir Putin or Ramzan Kadyrov is going to make him look like a criminal and do whatever they wish they want against him. And now we are seeing that unfold before our very eyes, unfortunately.
Confused. Maybe I didn't see that part of the story yet. Okay, so and yes, without any shred of doubt, Connor is going to tweet about this in 3, 2, 1. As a matter of fact, I am shocked that he hasn't said anything about it yet. Connor's been.
I tell you what, I would be shocked if Conor McGregor came out in support of Khabib for all of this. But you never know. That may not be the case here. Khabib may never get support from Conor McGregor in this. But if Conor McGregor shows some kind of solidarity towards Khabib in any kind of way, he would probably win some sort of virtue signal and points on that. And again, is Conor McGregor the type to want virtue signal and points in any kind of way? No.
Trying to talk Khabib into fighting against. Oh my God, look at this, dude. The very first thing, like I went to go search X for Connor, and this is the very first thing that
recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local.
Wait, Khabib faces UFC return. Rumors amid 3 million. Whoa. Okay, maybe this is just like, oh, it's a summary of posts on X and evolve over time. Okay, so we're not yet talking about him coming back, but that seems, I mean, if this is true, you have to entertain that there is a high likelihood that he would come back to fight.
I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think Khabib is ever going to come back to fight. And I have good reasons as to why I just don't think that he's going to fight. For one, it's religious reasons. And not only that, keeping your word. Also, you got to understand, as Muslims, we don't care about this life the way that you guys do. Yes, we care about making money. We care about providing for our family. We care about also building a legacy, but not to the point where we're going to get suckered into the riches and the luxuries of this world. So in other words, you could throw 100 million, 200 million at Khabib. He's already made the money that he wanted in the fight game, and nothing is going to deviate him away from that.
If he really does need to make cash fast, because I mean, if he takes a single fight, he obviously will be able to pay off that $3 million very easily afterwards. Dana would probably pay off that.
Okay, so how about this as a little theory to this whole situation, right? How about this? What about the fact that maybe the Russians are doing this so that they can force him to go into a fight? Why? Why would the Russians want to force Khabib into a fight? For one, maybe there's a propaganda reason behind it. Perhaps if Khabib was to come back, it would give Russia a certain clout in the sports world. But then if that's the case, why not just do it with Islam? Or maybe they found out that Islam is not a pay-per-view draw the way that Khabib was, and that Russia wants a much more popular figure in Khabib to fight back and fight for them rather than Islam. And again, this is only a theory that I'm pointing out to you guys, but I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just giving you plausible reasons as we are reacting to this video.
Tax debt for him, just right when he signed the bout agreement before he even fought, just as like a pre-fight kind of gift. You know what I mean? Imagine what they make on that fight. They're saying that Conor and Chandler are going to do 20 million at the gate. At the gate. Okay. At the gate. That's before you get into pay-per-views and sponsorships. 20 million at the gate. So imagine what they could afford to pay Khabib in a comeback fight, especially I just want to preface this next part. I love Michael Chandler. So I'm not like trying to be, I hope I actually am friends with this guy. And I don't know Conor, but as a fan of mixed martial arts, you have to at least acknowledge that if Conor did knock out Chandler and then they got Khabib to come back, that fight, to try to even wrap your brain around that fucking fight, it would be impossible. They'll make so much money. It would be,
and you know what? I believe it. Conor McGregor is one of these figures where I don't think he really needs anybody. You know what? I don't know if that's what it is. Mike Tyson was like that. He was a guy that didn't need anybody. Fight Peter McNeely, no problem. How much will you get paid? Oh, well, it's like probably more than you would get paid fighting Lennox Lewis, because nobody really cared about Lennox Lewis at the time other than other boxing fans in England and whatnot. How about the fact that you want, let's say, I don't know, Mike Tyson against Bruce Seldon. Nobody knows who Bruce Seldon is. And by the way, Bruce Seldon was the fight night that Tupac got killed. And still to this day, very few people know who Bruce Seldon is unless he has to be mentioned in a Tupac documentary, because that was literally part of the whole entire fight. Or I'm sorry, the whole entire story was surrounding that fight event that they had gone to.
Dana could donate $1 billion to fucking Russia after that fight. What? Anyway, so all right, it's been 6 minutes. Let's talk about the specifics. All right, so here is and then we're going to talk about this. This is very interesting. Very interesting about what Khabib is saying, or what Islam is saying that Khabib did in the Dustin Poirier fight. Spoiler: let him have a guillotine on purpose is the story. Anyway, all right. Hardy won. Good for her. Great fight. People repping Happy Dad in the crowd that are not even associated with the company. Must be nice, dude. Okay, so MMA icon Khabib's accounts frozen due to $3 million tax debt. Some of the former UFC champions firms now reportedly closed over irregularities uncovered by Russian authorities. See, this is what I'm saying. The reason I didn't just go like, oh, Khabib owes a lot of taxes is because when you read this story, there's something else going on. Like
I got to be honest with you, right? Jesse on Fire, I think, is the perfect guy to be one of the first content creators to sort of go over this particular story. And by the way, speaking of that fight, that Hardy fight, that girls fight that Jesse on Fire here has mentioned, there's a girls fight going on right now in the boxing world. And it is for the WBA bantamweight world title between Hughes versus Johnson in that card with Lomachenko and Kambosos. I'm watching that right now. We're covering it as we are covering this at the same time as well, because let's be honest, I don't think anybody really cares about that particular fight. Other than, of course, hardcore boxing fans. But let's continue on with this one.
He's being like investigated. There's like and you'll see when you get into here. And it being Russia.
By the way, I think I'm going to make a separate video on this. I'm probably going to drop it sometime, maybe Sunday or Monday. And the next video I am going to drop after this one, after the live reaction tonight, I'm going to do my part 2 of Did Jim Jones snitch? And then I'm going to finish off part 3 sometime this week, or maybe just as early as Sunday. But I am going to drop the Jim Jones Did He Snitch video part 2 tonight. Look out for that one. And then I will make a separate video on this particular topic as we are learning more about this right now, because obviously I've never seen this video yet. I'm longtime follower of Jesse on Fire, but obviously I didn't see this video today because I was watching the fights and I sort of dropped this stream. So this was a live stream that he did 6 hours ago during the fight. So I didn't get to see this. So we're watching this right now for the very first time and getting all of our information from it. And again, Jesse on Fire is the perfect guy to get information from this, because Jesse on Fire is very savvy when it comes to finances. So again, very interesting. And he also said right here at the end of, before I just pause this, he said there's something more to this than anything, right? And again, I think it has something to do with perhaps maybe betraying the Russian state in terms of treason in some kind of way. And by the way, you also got to understand the Dagestanis, they have a history of being anti-Russian. It's only now that they're pretending to get along with the Russians from one reason or another. But let's see where this goes.
You know, like obviously the United States current state has all kinds of, shenanigans going on. I just read today something about a Trump audit that's coming, and that he's going to owe $100 million from an audit, an IRS audit. I'm like, the fucking balls on these guys, dude. Like the absolute balls on these guys. They're like, oh, okay, well, he's got this case, this criminal case. Oh, well, that's not going well. What else can we do? Let's hit him with an audit. $100 million. It's absolutely endless. It's fucking crazy. I cannot believe that he is still standing up to all this shit. He's such a, if you're not impressed with that, then I don't know. But so with like Khabib facing an investigation in Russia, I don't know, man. Like there has to be something else going on. Anyway, so bank accounts linked to his Eagle FC promotion and charity fund have allegedly been frozen in response. Nurmagomedov, hailing from Dagestan, enjoyed a stellar career before retiring from the sport in 2020 with an unblemished professional record, 29-0. Victories over notable opponents like Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje solidified his life, yada, yada, yada. Recently, allegations suggest a different narrative. In a post on its Telegram channel, MASH Media asserted, okay, so if this is the only, let me just say this actually. If this is the only source of this story, this might be bullshit. I don't know what you guys know, but what, like, MASH Media? Who the fuck is MASH Media? Okay, like, so I just want to show you guys, like, this is everywhere. This is on Khabib, this is on Twitter. It's literally, it's all over the place. Right? Championship rounds. It is everywhere. Everyone is reporting this. But I know how media works. So
what's crazy about this, right? He's saying that everyone's reporting this, but it just seems like Jesse on Fire is the only guy that seems to be covering this, right? And what I mean by him being the only one covering this, I'm talking about like, well, okay, let's say the guys that are, oh, I don't know, mainstream media or something like that, right? He just seems to be the only person that's covering this on the mainstream media side. So again, I don't know, but yeah, I'm just saying it's not the most highly covered story there is right now, and I'm just wondering why that is. But okay, let's continue
if
on.
as we get into, like, one of the semi-credible sources, and they say that the source of this information is a post on its fucking Telegram channel, Mash Media. Who the fuck is Mash Media? This might not even be true. Probably true, but it might not be. Anyway, they say Nurmagomedov owes more than 300 million rubles in unpaid taxes. Following his retirement, he ventured into various business endeavors, including dietary supplements, restaurant chains, and hotels.
If you really want to be a CEO, want to be an entrepreneur, you should take the first step. Create the LLC. It doesn't really cost that.
Okay, so according to reports, Nurmagomedov's troubles with the Russian tax authorities stem from his transfer of ownership in several companies, purportedly leaving relatives and associates in control. This prompted an investigation by Russia's Federal Tax Service, which is obviously the Russian IRS.
So what I find really strange about this, right, is obviously Khabib put certain people of a position and power into his companies, primarily his family members. There's nothing really unusual about that, right? Now, obviously, there's going to be some CEOs out there or entrepreneurs that don't want any of that smoke in terms of hiring their family members, right? They would rather keep it separate. And I'm in the opinion that I think there's some smart choices to that, considering that when you do work with somebody that knows you on a very personal level and that you are in a position of authority over them, they sometimes will feel like they can take advantage of you or somehow feel a little bit too comfortable in ways that may be detrimental against the business and its company motto and mission statement. But Khabib, on the other hand, he wanted to hire his family members, and for some reason, the Russians just did not like that. And we're trying to find out why. Is it because there were some people in the Russian government or that sort of suspected some people in Khabib's family that was sort of, I don't know, nefarious to a certain degree? But let's continue on and find out.
And oh, I'm sorry, I did not bet heavy on this next fight. I bet on McKinney. I have a bunch of money on McKinney. So the Russian IRS uncovering discrepancies in documentation and resulting in the closure of some of his businesses. Furthermore, Nurmagomedov's MMA promotion company, Eagle Fighting Championship, is reportedly under scrutiny, facing potential closure in the near future. Authorities suspect that
Yeah, so the Eagle FC stuff, right? I got to tell you, I think that company has been into downs as of late, and primarily because Khabib just wasn't trying. And this isn't a knock or anything like that, but you got to understand, right? In order to have a promotion, it's not just about having one or two good events and then just, hey, say we have a fight promotion. It takes a little bit more than that. You have to be consistent, you have to put on shows, and then you have to put on content in between the shows in order to promote your brand. Sort of like what you do when you are a YouTuber or you are a social media influencer. That's what you have to do. You have to put out content. Well, just like a fight promotion works exactly like a YouTube channel. You got to put out content, you got to put out events, you got to put out live streams, and you got to put out content in between your events and whatever it is that you do. Khabib was just not willing to take that type of investment. Now, is it one of those situations where, well, let me put it like this. This is the best way to describe Eagle FC. Obviously, being on YouTube, I'm trying to build a channel, right? So I'm going to do this almost every day. Now, do I do it every day? Maybe not. Should I? Yes. Realistically, if you want to get in the algorithm of YouTube, this is what you have to do. Have you ever seen any of your friends that have, let's say, maybe 3 videos on their YouTube channel? They're not really trying or anything like that. Maybe they'll put on a vacation video, or maybe they'll put on a video of a car show that they were at. And then the next thing, they're going to put a video of them going to a pet store, or all these different variations of content, right? But they don't do it often. They do it like maybe twice a month or this and that. They're sort of an inactive YouTube channel, an active but an inactive YouTube channel at the same time. If you understand the lingo and the metaphor that I'm trying to explain, this is the best way to really describe Eagle FC as an organization. Now, why? Khabib has already made his money. He wanted to put on a few guys, give a few guys experiences under Eagle FC, but he never really wanted to use Eagle FC as the next PFL or the next Bellator, or I don't think he even really cared about making it into a feeder league, other than, of course, putting some of his guys on and giving them UFC level fights for them to get ready for that next level of MMA.
Madoff may have diverted funds meant for taxes to finance investments in hotels and startups in Turkey and the United Arab Emirates.
Okay, well, there you go. So that could be the issue right there. Turkey, the United Arab Emirates. But here's the thing. The United Arab Emirates and Turkey are allies with the Russians. So why is it a problem that Khabib wanted to build hotels in Turkey or build businesses in the UAE? I could understand if he was an American citizen or an American resident. Let's say if he decided he was going to move full time to San Jose, okay, and become a full-fledged citizen, or maybe on the road to becoming that, maybe a permanent resident of some sort, right? If he was to open businesses in that part of the world while he was a U.S. resident, there would be some serious problems, just because Turkey is a very volatile region for the U.S. Foreign relations in terms of what is going on in the world. But this is Russia we're talking about, right? So again, we got to put on our investigative caps and ask ourselves, why are the Russians against this? And what are some nefarious activities they are looking at in Turkey?
So I don't know. This is a weird statement right here. You know, like the authorities suspect that Nurmagomedov may have diverted funds meant for taxes to finance investments in hotels and startups. Like, if he financed startups and hotels, how the fuck would they know that that was funds that was intended for taxes? You know what I mean? Like, when you pay your taxes, you pay your taxes. Like, that's a really weird thing to say. What, like, so he put it in an account that was titled like Khabib's taxes, and then he sent that to other investments? Like, that's a really fucking weird thing to say.
So I'm trying to understand, what exactly does that mean, right? What was the violation here? Was the violation because of the fact that he put the taxes on a certain title or a certain name, and somehow they found that nefarious? Again, if that is the case, you got to understand that the Russians are not operating on a certain level of law to where they're following a certain sequences of order, right? Or a consistent basis of order. What they are doing, again, because they are an oligarch, they're going to act out of emotions rather than logical behavior of what is the norm in their constitution.
Anyway, that, I don't know. That's very bizarre. I mean, this is always a possibility with athletes that go into, because listen, man, like, at the end of the day, you do not want to, like, if you're Khabib or you're me if I was in his situation. I don't know if you guys have run like how, or sure, some of you guys, but not all of you guys have run businesses before. Like there's the fun part and there's the not fun part.
And again, this is the reason why. This is the reason why I say that Jesse on Fire is the best person to cover this. And I'm only reacting to it while also adding some aspects of global geopolitics that I may understand and may be able to fill in the gaps into what he's conveying here.
Okay. Look at like, as if you want a perfect example, if you are a what do you call it? Like if you're I don't know. Okay, so whatever. Perfect example of what I mean. Look at Dana White. Okay. So if you're like a workaholic and you actually genuinely love business, so you have absolutely endless energy to work, but you get to choose what you're going to work on as the chief executive. That's Dana. He gets to like do shows. He gets to, hype fights. He gets to travel around and do whatever. Like he's an absolute workaholic, 100%. But then, contract negotiations, he doesn't deal with that anymore. Like anything related to accounting and all that stuff, that's not his bag. So like if you're Khabib, that's exactly the situation that you want. You want someone that you trust who runs your business side so you can focus on ideas, bringing things to the table.
So what I think Jesse is getting at right now is that Khabib trusted his businesses with his family members that may have messed up in some kind of way. That particular mess up is probably what the Russian government is currently investigating right now and why they seized all of Khabib's assets.
Table, promoting things, all that stuff that is necessary to build successful businesses, but is fun and not this bullshit. At least for me, I fucking hate dealing with money. I can't stand it. I fucking hate it. I hate it more than anything in the world. I hate it. I like looking at like money to me is as interesting as this. I like looking at a fucking computer screen and seeing lots of like dollars. That's it. Anything else having to do with money, I don't like it. I don't like it. I listen to some guys who are great with money and they talk about how they fucking, they opened up this trust and then they did this and this and this and sounds, and then they like kind of laugh that no one else does it. And I'm kind of like, well, that sounds really clever, but I hate dealing with fucking money. So I don't want to have to do all of that shit, even though you don't seem like you're that fucking smart, but I just don't want to do it. So it's like,
I disagree with Jesse. Look, I think Jesse is a whole lot smarter than what he likes to lead on, right? And this is, by the way, the reason why I think he's the perfect guy to sort of break this news. Obviously, other news outlets out there have broken this, not so much of the media, mainstream legacy side of the media, but in terms of YouTube content creators, Jesse is the best guy to talk about this. He's had businesses before where it rose to the millions. He's also had businesses that have failed and went bankrupt. So again, he's the perfect guy to talk about this particular subject. And I think he's just being humble in the best way that he can to sort of, not make it seem like he's being arrogant in any kind of way. But Jesse knows his stuff. So right on, Jesse, you're the right guy to talk about this. And let's continue on.
A lot of times athletes will put someone in charge of their finances. And if that person, and I'm not saying that someone's corrupt necessarily, but you can't fully give away control over the keys to your money to anyone, to anyone, even if you're wired like me, where you fucking despise money and dealing with money in general, aside from making it and looking at it, you can't just take your eye off the ball and just assume.
You know what? This is something that he's absolutely right about. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think this is where Jesse is going at right now. Where he's going at right now is he's saying that, you know what? I don't like money. I don't love money in a way that I worship it. And guess what? Khabib is in the same mental trajectory. Khabib's not the type of guy that worships money. And if you're a true Muslim, man, that's just not how we are. Now, strangely enough, there are a lot of wealthy Muslims out there, whether they are people that were born into an oil-rich royal family of the Gulf, right? That's the extreme side of it. but let's talk about just normal, everyday, average folks. The majority of Arabs, the majority of Indians, the majority of Pakistanis, the majority of Africans that are of a Muslim background, many of them are very educated in having a doctorate, having some kind of degree in engineering, having some kind of degree in, let's say, dentistry or some kind of medical field, or maybe become a lawyer or a financier of some sort, or a finance guy, or somebody that works in the world of stocks and bonds and anything that deals with money and things of that nature. So we have a lot of Muslim brothers that are very wealthy in that particular instance, right? But many of them don't care about money the way that, let's say, what's a great example? I should say one of those Cash Money type of rappers, right? Oh, look at me. I got the bling bling. I got, chains on, or this and that. This is not the way we are. And because of that, sometimes it sort of translates in the language of not really caring about business, not being on top of business, not being firm, and not being harsh when you need to in order to accomplish a corporate goal of some sort. And I think this is what Jesse is getting at right now. Khabib is a nice guy. He doesn't care about money, but sometimes, as great as that is, and as noble as that is, and as religious as that is, there has to be a fine line in being firm on certain topics at hand, rather than just allowing people to walk all over you or allow themselves to fall on the wayside by not uh, putting priorities in order.
That everything's cool if the money that's funding your operation is all yours, because ultimately, like, you can have a business manager, but like you're like, oh, I think we should invest in this and this and this, and you go to them and you're like, oh, can we afford this? And they're kind of like, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to end up in a situation with like a person who doesn't, I don't know, I don't know. It happens a lot.
By the way, guys, just wanted to let you know that Vasily Lomachenko and George Kambosos is coming up soon, and we will continue on with this video. Let me see what they are doing right now. Let me put on the headphones and see what Kambosos right now is warming up in the back. Okay, sort of hitting pads, and then we're going to see Lomachenko soon. So, okay, let's continue on with this video, and hopefully we can finish it before the fight starts with Lomachenko. More than likely, we're going to get to finish this video before the main event. So here we go.
Or like Dane Cook.
And by the way, guys, don't forget that after this live stream, after I react to the Kambosos and Lomachenko fight, I'm going to drop a video tonight, and it's going to be titled, "Did Jim Jones Snitch?" The rapper. Obviously, that little incident that he had in the airport. I'm going to do that. It's going to be a part 2. The part 3 I'm going to drop Sunday or Monday, sometime in between this week. And also, in the same fight week with Usyk and Fury, I'm also going to drop a separate video on this particular topic because, hey, I'm learning this particular topic with you guys right now, and I'm going to make a separate video on it as the week goes on, probably as early as Monday. So all of those are going to be dropped as the latest Sunday to Monday. So just be on the lookout for that.
Someone fucking robbed Dane Cook. His brother stole all his money. Millions and millions. He had made like 30, 40, $50 million, and his brother stole it all, which is insane, dude.
And by the way, this happens a lot with many celebrity families, right? Many of them sort of allow certain people in their lives, trust, right? They afford them a certain trust. And unfortunately, this is the reason why there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are sort of in the belief that, hey, listen, don't hire your family members. And this could be the reason why. And again, we don't know what's going on with the full story of what is going on with Khabib and things of that nature. But I will say Jesse on Fire is sort of tapped in with Ali Abdelaziz. So hopefully he does get more information on this matter, and hopefully he can get in contact with him and give him information. Not before I do, obviously, or well, let's see if I get to Ali first, but let's see. Either way, it would be really interesting to get the full scope on this. And right now, a lot of this is only speculative and only just trying to understand what is going on with what could happen next or what could potentially be happening behind the scenes.
Insane. But yeah, no, a corrupt business, like someone said Ali, it's not Ali, dude. Ali would throw himself in front of a fucking bus for Khabib. There's no way that he did Khabib dirty.
He absolutely would. And this is why I said, if there's anybody that knows what is going on right now, it is Ali Abdelaziz. And may I remind you guys, I have not yet to have seen this video. This is a video I have not seen yet. I'm literally reacting to this video with you guys live as we are watching this right now. So once again, I was right. I said that Ali is probably the guy to go to. And what is that? Somebody sort of accused Ali of sort of backstabbing Khabib. Psh, I don't know.
That is literally impossible. I would bet my life on that Ali did not do Khabib dirty. But again,
and by the way, yeah, that's something that's really worth noting. The level of loyalty that Ali has for Khabib, it is similar to Tupac and Suge Knight. That's the best way to describe it. All conspiracy theories aside, because there's a lot of people out there that believe Tupac was set up by Suge Knight. But if you take their friendship for face value, that is the best way to describe their friendship. Tupac and Suge Knight, Ali Abdelaziz, and Khabib Nurmagomedov.
It doesn't mean someone did Khabib dirty either. It could just be, well, maybe the government's doing Khabib dirty. Yeah, his brother is still in jail. I know. I saw that interview where he taught, like, where Dane Cook told that story. And man, that, like, it made my blood run cold. Where he's like, I knew right then. It's like, he stole all my money. He's like, I just knew right there. He stole all my money. I'm like,
now, with the situation of Dane Cook, I don't think that this is the same with Khabib. What I think is happening with Khabib is a mishandling of certain funds to where it had become illegal or somehow raised red flags by the Russian government for them to crack down on Khabib, or who they felt was responsible for the whole entire operation or whatever it is that they were looking at.
Oh my God. If I, like, just the thought of that, of my brother, my fucking brother that I trusted 100%, stealing all of my money, and like all that, the feeling of that security being gone, and knowing that my fucking brother, who I had entrusted all of my finances to, had done it.
Now, look, here's something I need you to understand about Khabib's brothers, right? If they are as devout of Muslims as we think them to be, understand this. I don't think that it was out of greed or taking money or subtracting money in any kind of degree or anything like that. I just think that it's one of those situations where, let's just be honest, right? Multiple reasons. One, you know that Muslims every day get accused of funding, you know what? Okay? You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say it, but look at me. You know, Muslims out there get accused of funding nefarious things in the world. Okay? That's where I'm getting at with this. So if there's anything to look at in this story, I don't think it has anything to do with greed. I don't think it has anything to do with, let's say, mishandling of certain funds or any kind of degree, not to a certain type of mistake where it hurts somebody in any kind of way. But again, understand that we're only trying to figure out what is going on here, right? And so far, we're sort of getting a little bit of a better understanding to what is going on, but the best understanding to have is for Ali Abdelaziz to come out on media and tell everybody what is going on, because if there is somebody that is going to be in the loop about this 100%, it is going to be Ali Abdelaziz to the max. So
it'd be like walking in on your wife getting pounded out by your best friend. Just the fucking absolute worst, the worst thing that could ever happen.
But in this particular case, Khabib's best friend is the Russian government that is somehow betraying him. So
the new MMA physician. That's not a good doctor. Dr. A. I don't get it. I'm trying to say your joke, but I don't understand it. Dr. A. I can't figure out that joke, dude. Jaden, what's up, dude? Thank you very much, good sir. Appreciate you. We did a really good Dr. Ada Load. Yeah, but why doctor? You should have said, have you heard about the new MMA fighter, Jesse Adalode? Like made the Adalode thing the full last name. That would have, you might have got me with that, dude. Okay, so Ali did not steal money from Khabib. I would, again, there's absolutely no fucking way.
Yeah, I don't believe that either. The loyalty that these guys have with each other, it is nothing that you've ever seen anywhere in the world, right? The closest, I don't know. I don't even know what to compare the type of loyalty that Khabib has for Ali and vice versa.
Way that like he there's no way. But here, okay, let me.
And he would gain nothing from it as well. So let's just understand that. Just like the Suge Knight conspiracy theories about how he got Tupac killed, I don't think that would have gained anything for Suge Knight having him killed in any kind of way. I mean, okay, he owns his masters after he dies, but then so what? After that, you're limited with the type of content that Tupac can put out there rather than having him with you for life.
Let me show you this other thing, dude. So Khabib gave a secret message to Islam Makhachev before famous UFC title defense. Okay, so this is about Dustin Poirier, right? This is bananas. Okay, so at UFC 242, the undefeated Dagestani champion welcome favorite Dustin Poirier, Abu Dhabi. We all remember that. And
by the way, I'm wearing the shirt of that event right here. See, take a look. UFC Abu Dhabi. I'm wearing a shirt of that event. This is from UFC 242, just so you guys know. Just a little, wanted to throw it out there. Just thought it was an interesting correlation.
Okay, hang on. Okay, hang on. Secret message to Islam Makhachev ahead of the Dustin fight. And dude, where? Okay, Makhachev on DC and Chael show Good Guy, Bad Guy. Noted a story from backstage at the Abu Dhabi event. Claims that giving up the guillotine position was pre-planned in an effort to exhaust Poirier in the later rounds. Before the fight, I swear to God, Khabib told me, "Hey, catch me in guillotine. I have to feel." Makhachev told Cormier and Son, and I will give him my neck and make him tired. And what we did in the locker room right before the fight.
By the way, that is a legit thing to do, right? In jiu-jitsu, if you guys ever rolled in any jiu-jitsu classes or done training of any kind, there are guys out there that will give you their neck just so they can get you tired. And then when they get you tired, they're going to transition away from your full guard position onto the guillotine, push down on your knees and your thighs, get in a half guard position, and maybe even move into the half guard. I'm sorry, the side control position, and just transition all around you, right? While you're getting tired from your arms getting burnt out of trying to basically squeeze the last of whatever you have left in your arms.
No way.
So it's possible that he may have done that.
Islam Makhachev admits he doesn't respect Dustin Poirier's guillotine. in that mold, Makhachev admitted he doesn't really fear the potential of being submitted from. Oh my God, he doesn't fear getting submitted by Poirier's guillotines. I mean, Dustin has literally attempted 1 million guillotines and he never ever finishes them. And in the cage. But he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and it's like if I'm fucking poor.
But I gotta tell you, being a black belt in jiu-jitsu really almost means nothing in MMA, right? Because the dynamics are so different. Even in the world of grappling, being a black belt in jiu-jitsu doesn't mean anything. Now, what are you supposed to do when everybody else in the grappling competition is a black belt? But obviously, there's black belts, and then there are black belts that are highly athletic, and then there are black belts that are highly experienced. And then there are black belts that are way more higher level than other forms of grapplers and vice versa. It's just, again, like what I said earlier with the recap for UFC St. Louis, right? MMA can sometimes be such a coin toss. So make of that as you will.
Poirier coming off that last fight, jump the gilly. Dude, I would train guillotines with 5 different world champions like for a month. Like it's all I would do is just that in the every afternoon, guillotines. Just because if he finishes Islam Makhachev with a fucking guillotine, I will literally, like I've said, I think I said this before, I will tear this entire studio down. I'll be so fired up. I will tear it all down and rebuild it because that would be the most gangster shit of all time.
I'm going to be honest with you. I honestly don't think Dustin Poirier could pull off a guillotine against Islam Makhachev. For one, I think that they are just too proficient in their own jiu-jitsu and their own sambo alone. Not only that, they are very wrestling dominant, but not only that, they are also very wrestling conditioned in terms of their necks being very strong. They do a lot of like neck bridges in order to get their necks conditioned and whatnot. And guys like that are just going to be very difficult to get your arm around for a guillotine. And if Dustin Poirier can't do it at the highest level, I don't think he can do it against the pound for pound #1 guy in the world right now.
Oh, really? Okay, so it sounds like verified that the story about Khabib.
Okay, so it is true. Let's just keep that in perspective. That story that we are covering right now as we are waiting for Vasyl Lomachenko and George Kambosos. Yes, this story with Khabib is true. By the way, speaking of Lomachenko, Khabib said if he was ever going to get into boxing, he would train with Lomachenko. So a little fun fact for you guys to know.
Well, the one about the taxes is true. This one, Oh, okay. Wait. Makhachev initially claimed that used to, but Cormier, who's a team. Makhachev initially attempted to claim that he respects Poirier's ability to use the guillotine effectively, but Cormier, who was a teammate of his at AKA, knew he wasn't being honest and joked that he was trolling. Okay, I don't respect his guillotine because I never see him finish someone in guillotine. Maybe one day, but it's not going to be me. Listen, dude, it would be a wild like miscalculation to assume that Dustin Poirier does not have a strong guillotine going into this fight, because if you think like it's like just think about like jiu-jitsu as like conceptually. Is Islam Makhachev saying that there is no one who, if they secured a guillotine on him, could finish him with a guillotine? Because there for sure is someone who could finish a guillotine if they locked it in right on him. So it like from where Dustin.
I know what Jesse is trying to say here. Let me just break it down like this, right? I don't think Islam will put himself in a situation where he's going to get guillotined by Dustin Poirier. So in other words, I don't think that he's going to allow his neck to be exposed. I think that if he's going to shoot in for a double leg takedown, he may just go with a single one instead. Sort of like what Khabib does, right? When he dives in for a single leg takedown, he goes right into your ankle and literally places his whole entire shoulder, wraps his arm around you, and puts his whole entire weight onto your ankles so that he can get you down for a single leg, because that is the least likely of you getting a guillotine on him to any degree. Now, one of the worst positions to do and how you get caught with a guillotine is actually with a double leg a double leg attempt that you're trying to do, especially if you're going with a double leg where you're not placing your head into their chest, but rather into the side of, let's say, their hips. If you're shooting a double leg takedown and you're shooting your head into their side hips, guess what? You're going to be susceptible to guillotines. But if you have preventative measures, maybe in how you're going to engage the takedowns or how you're going to engage the grappling exchanges, I think that is going to be a very mindful endeavor for Islam Makhachev going into that contest with those particular variations in terms of the submission attempts that Dustin Poirier could pull off.
Was, whatever, to where he's going to be like, if he focused exclusively on guillotines with someone who is an absolute stone, elite world-class expert in guillotines, it wouldn't take that much adjustment for Dustin to have, a technically sound guillotine that is very capable of submitting Islam if he gets trapped in it. So if he does do that because Islam Makhachev underestimated his guillotine, that would be fucking amazing, dude. We actually just worked guillotines this morning at the seminar that I was at. We had the seminar that I did this morning was at it was with what's her fucking name? With Aurelie Laverne. She's like she won European ADCC this year. She's a fucking beast, dude. She is an absolute beast. That's a girl that'll humble a fucking dude real quick. I mean, she's strong as fuck, but like, she's an absolute monster. We worked a guillotine today, but yeah, I'm watching the fights. It's on a commercial.
I just had to fast forward that a little bit.
I'm not. No, I didn't bet on Charles Johnson. I bet on McKinney.
Okay, they have the ring announcement going on right now. We're going to finish up the last 5 minutes of this video, and then we're going to go back and react to Lomachenko versus Kambosos, which is what everybody came here to see. But for now, let's finish off this video reaction with Khabib has his assets seized as Russia opens investigation, claims he owes millions, courtesy of Jesse on Fire.
I watched game footage on both him and what's his name that he's fighting, and basically here's my read on that fight. McKinney has an enormous speed and precision.
Let's speed this up.
Advantage on the feet, huge, an enormous speed and precision, accuracy and technique advantage on the feet. But the other guy is an absolute fucking grinder. So it's like if McKinney can hurt him early, which I think he will. I think he's gonna hurt him early. The other guy's never been finished, I don't think, but I think that he is going to get finished in this fight, and that's what I bet on. McKinney's a plus 140 underdog. Let me see. Hang on. Yeah, Ribovix. I bet on Terrence McKinney over Ribovix. I literally intentionally did not even look at their records or anything. I just watched footage of them fighting. So now I'm looking right now. Yeah, Ribovix has only lost one fight and it was a decision, so he's never been stopped. But I think McKinney's gonna stop him. That's my hypothesis. We'll see though. And this guy, because also Terrence McKinney gets people out of there early, really early. Jesus, he has. My God, this is the first time I'm actually looking at his record. Like I said, so okay, these are his wins: first round knockout, 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 third round knee bar, first round. Holy fucking shit! Out of 15 wins, 14 of them are first round knockouts. Dude, I swear to God, I did not know that when I bet on him. And my bet, like I was telling you, I think he's gonna knock him out early. Just having watched him move. That is bananas, dude.
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you
That is fucking crazy. But I think if he gets, I think if the other dude gets out of the first, then he'll grind him down. But honestly, you want to know what it looked like to me? I'll tell you exactly how it looked. When I watched footage on the dude Anthony was fighting last Saturday, Victor Petrino, that's exactly what I saw. The same thing that I saw in Esteban Ribovics, right? Where I'm like, dude, this dude is strong, but he's slow and he's sloppy. You know. Like,
all right, Kambosos.
Again, I didn't want to. I did say exactly that when I was talking.
Kambosos is ready to walk out into the ring right now, and this is going to be for the vacant IBF lightweight championship of the world, 135 pounds to be exact.
In the pre, but I knew, you know, me coming on here like, I think Anthony's gonna win for sure. Everyone's like, okay, dude, like no one wants to hear my opinion on a fucking Anthony Smith fight because they know I'm incredibly biased. But that's exactly what I saw in that guy. He looked slow and sloppy and strong. This guy looks slow, not as technically sound. But the difference between him and Petrino is like Petrino's huge, and I knew it would be gas later on. I think this guy's the opposite. Like, he's kind of slower. He's not quite as crisp, but Ribovics is one of those guys that is going to fucking grind.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to Anthony Smith for that win against Petrino. That I did not see coming at all, right? And again, kind of shows you what experience can do against a young buck like Petrino. But yeah, shout outs to Anthony Smith. Lionheart Smith.
He's going to get ground down. It's probably going to get ugly, where he's just going to wear him out. But dude, actually, fuck, man, Ribovics is won by first round knockout a bunch too, dude. So he won by first round knockout in Contender Series, and before that he had won 2 in a row, first 30 seconds knockouts, both of them. Damn, he's got another first 30 seconds.
Kambosos.
He's got 3 knockouts.
Kambosos walking out to M&M's till I collapse right now.
That were within the first 27 seconds. Dude, this guy's a finisher, man. Look at that. We'll see. 6 knockouts and 5 submissions out of 12 wins. Well, I'm glad that I didn't look at any of this, and I only want to footage because I'm going to feel pretty fucking smart if McKinney knocks him out. Anyway, okay, I gotta go.
All right, guys. So that's if you want to watch all of that. I mean, we obviously went through the whole entire video. I mean, there's only like 46 seconds left of that particular video. So all right. So now all right. So Kambosos has now entered the ring. And now we are waiting on Lomachenko to walk out into the ring right now. So we are going to mark this right now. One. So for those of you that want to follow along in the future that are watching this, 1 hour and 32 minutes into this stream, it is Lomachenko versus Kambosos live reaction. So right now, we are witnessing Lomachenko walk into the Rack Center in Perth, Australia. By the way, the site of UFC 284, I believe, because Islam Makhachev won his belt in UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi, and then it was at UFC 284 where he had fought Volkanovski. Very tough fight, obviously leading into the rematch where Volkanovski came in there 11 days notice only to get knocked out. So here we are. Here we are now. By the way, this is a 50-50 matchup right here. I've been telling you guys that I really think that this fight right here, this is a 50-50 matchup. So the Ukrainian national anthem is playing right now as we speak. Does anybody know the lyrics to let me look up the English translation to the English translation of Ukrainian national anthem. Okay, let's take a look at the now they're playing the Greek national anthem, which obviously is to commemorate the heritage of Kambosos, also a proud Australian as well. Yeah, so Ukraine has not yet perished. So this is the English translation to the Ukrainian national anthem right here. Let me show you guys right here. Okay, oh, what is this? All these pop-ups right here. Okay, hold on. So the English translation, the glory and the freedom of Ukraine has not yet perished. Luck will still smile on us, brother Ukrainians. Our enemies will die as the dew does in the sunshine, and we too, brothers, we live happily in our land. We will not spare either souls or bodies to get freedom, and will prove we are the brothers are of the Cossack keen. Okay, well, I tell you what, man, the Ukrainians definitely live their national anthem, right? So here we go. Speaking of national anthems, we now have the Australian national anthem playing right now. And by the way, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe as we are following and reacting to this live fight that we are witnessing right now. You know, surprisingly, the Australian national anthem isn't really one of those national anthems I hear a lot. Obviously, unless, of course, you're watching like basketball or other sports that they are involved in some kind of way. But yeah. All right. They said main event of the day because I think they are performing right now at local time at 9 a.m. or something like that in Australia. Because I remember the Ronda Rousey fight card with Holly Holmes in Melbourne, Australia was taking place in the morning time during their local time. So all right, Vasily Lomachenko has now been announced in the ring. All right. Now, George Kambosos has now been announced. All right. Now they hit the center of the ring right now. All right, here we go. Round one is about to start right now. We are about to commence round one. And Lomachenko's father now exiting out of the ring. Everybody left the ring right now. We are about to commence on round one. Here we go. Round one, and a little flames coming out as round one starts. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see the footwork of Lomachenko. Watch for the footwork of Lomachenko. See how much he circles around, how he's going to manipulate his angles, and how he's going to basically try and dictate this match through general ringsmanship. Let me see if I can get my man. All right, here we go. I think we're going to have Zane come in and join us. This is going to be, I guess, a little tradition we're going to have going on right now, where we're going to have Zane every time we have a boxing fight. And why not, right? Who better to watch a boxing fight with than somebody who, truly loves boxing and knows a lot about it too. So we're waiting on Zane right now as we are watching round one of Lomachenko and Kambosos right now. I just sent Zane a link. So Zane, if you are listening to this right now, answer the link on your DM and come holler at your boy, and let's break this fight down. There we go. Little power shots by Lomachenko right there. Little some combinations going. A body shot attempt by Kambosos. Now, here's what I really like about this fight, right? There's going to be a lot of footwork battles going into this fight, right? Like just, constant foot fakes, level changes that they are going to do. On top of that, just the circling that they watch. Even Kambosos himself right now, look at the circling that he's doing right now. All right. Now that is round one right there. So who I gave round one to? You know what? I might have to give that one to Loma round one. What do you guys think? I wonder what Zane thinks right now. Hopefully he's watching this right now. Let's see what time is it in the UK right now. UK time right now. It is UK time right now. 5:30 a.m. Oh man. 5:30 a.m. Bro, let me tell you, UK fans are the biggest hardcore fight fans in the world. Right? What's going on, Zane? There he is. Let me mark this down. 1 hour, 44 minutes. Zane.
Bro.
How are you, man?
Good.
So who do you have for comes in? Yeah, I'm watching the fight right now. I gave round one to Loma on that one. So right now we are at round two, 250, 249, 247 of the second round. And I was saying that this fight right here is really predicated on two guys that have amazing footwork, right? Like they know how to circle, they know how to switch angles, and
Yeah.
you can't keep your eyes off the screen on this one. They look at them, they almost look identical in their approach. The only difference is when Kambosos is fighting close range. I think he has more of a Mexican fighting style close range, but obviously Loma is one of those pure outside fighters from
Yes.
from
Very
see,
skillful.
there it is. And more of a combination puncher, I think, goes with Kambosos, or at least the faster one.
Yeah, 100%, man. I agree with you. Lomachenko is a very technical fighter. Moves in and out of range, and Kambosos generally wants this fight to be in the center of the ring, you know?
But he can also fight uh like in a further range, like he can do those outside in and out movements as well. I just think
Mm.
that it's when Kambosos becomes very emotional that he
Yeah,
starts really going into Manny Pacquiao mode. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
that's when when you get him excited or mad or any type of emotion, I
Mm,
think you can really draw that out of him as a combination puncher. Whereas you look at Loma, right?
yeah,
Loma's just very disciplined with his approach right now. You see the way that he circles. Then after he circles, he went back into the center of the ring, and now he's just being very disciplined with his jab. Whereas
yeah,
with Kambosos, he changes levels continuously, fights very frantic, but then also fights frantic to try to get into close range while also trying to fight him from a further range and trying to match him in that same environment as well.
yeah, 100%, man. You're nailing it on the head there, man. I think you got it down to a T there.
Yeah. And now let's just hope that Loma doesn't get screwed by the Australian judges in this one, right? Kind of like what they did with Manny Pacquiao and the school teacher. What
Yeah,
was that guy's name? Horn. What? Jeff
yeah.
Horn. No, I'm sorry. Wait, that's
Jeff
the basketball player. What was his name again? The Australian teacher.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Jeff Horn, yeah. I can't
Was it
believe
Jeff
they
Horn?
it's
Because
Jeff
I
Horn.
thought Jeff Horn. Oh wait, no, okay, yeah, it is Jeff Horn. Sorry, I thought, yeah, I was thinking of a basketball player.
Mm,
From like the Utah Jazz days during the days of Michael Jordan, Karl Malone. Jeff Hornacek was his name. Now I kept thinking his name was Jeff Horn as well. But yeah, Jeff Horn basically screwed Manny Pacquiao in an Australian card. You remember that? All the
yeah, that
Manny
was
Pacquiao
crazy.
fans were pissed.
I couldn't believe that. That was a robbery, though. 100%.
So you guys got sunlight going on in the UK right now, current time, right? I
Yeah,
see there's sunlight, in your background right now. And
yeah, man.
obviously here in sunny in not so sunny West Side California right now, it's dark. And obviously I had to put on some lights to get this cracking. But yeah,
No, definitely. It's about
5:30
6
in the
p.m.
morning right now, huh?
5:30, literally.
Yeah.
5:37, yeah. But you know what it is? I love boxing, man. So it's always a pleasure to see these big fights, you know? So I always get
Man,
up
and you
for
know
them.
what? It's a pleasure to also have you do a live reaction with me right now. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
thank
Like
you, bro.
this,
No, it's a
this is
pleasure me
like
being on here. Appreciate your
because
time.
I know that you're extremely passionate about boxing, and I
Yeah,
tell you what, man. Let me tell you, bro. Back in the days when I fought and competed, right? Like it
yeah.
annoyed me when I
I
had
can't believe
people
you
come over to
competed, you
watch
know. That's pretty
fights.
good.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's,
when you're in that mindset, right? You're in that, kill mindset, right? So it really
mm,
annoyed me when I had people come over that didn't know anything about fighting and would ask like, real dumb questions. Like, nowadays I
mm,
find it kind of fun. You know what I mean? If I have a
yeah.
fight party
What
going
were they
on and
asking you?
okay, they would ask me, "Hey, who should we go for?" Like
Okay.
questions like that. Like, what do you mean? Who should we go for? Well, who do you like? Do you like the black trunks or the white trunks? You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
your choice. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
I think they were asking you for a prediction.
no, they were asking me who I should. It's different asking someone who you
Okay.
think is going to win versus who you
Uh,
think you should go for. It's you know, like they knew what they were asking when they asked that. You know, like little
yeah,
things like that. Or they'll make fun of like the fighters or say something, you know, really asinine or or just try to like make a joke out of it. You know, back then if you're in a mindset of competition, like none of those things are funny to you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess that's the way. Every fighter is different. Every competitor, every human being is different. But to me, it was it was like that. It was just like, man, this is annoying. Why you bring this dude around here? You know what I mean? Like, some dudes would talk about like conspiracy theories in the middle of the fight. They would say, "Whoa, all sports is rigged, right?" Like, what do you mean rigged? Like, you mean like these dudes are like doing pro wrestling or something? Like, what do you mean rigged? You know what I mean? Like that. So, but nowadays I find it funny. I find those people funny and and even if you were to, throw some of them in a live reaction, I think it would be great content also, right? Because, obviously, you want to put out serious fight content, but you
Yeah,
also want to, attract different types of people as well. But you
yeah.
coming in here to watch this boxing fight with me, I think this is like, like, oh, what is this? Oh, that's closing off the third. Okay, I thought the doctor was going to do like a standing count or something. I didn't realize that was the end of the round.
I
But no,
think Lomas.
having you here, there's more of like a respect factor towards boxing, that I like about you. You know what I mean? Like you really respect the sport to its highest degree, and I think and this is why I like calling you when I got boxing fights that I'm reacting to. I'm like, man, let me see what
Appreciate
Zane is
it.
doing. Let me have him pop up in
Yeah,
here and
wait, what?
and comment on these one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me the time, man. I really enjoy coming on your channel as well, man, because you give me
Yeah,
a
man.
different sort of perspective, you know?
Yeah, and
Oh,
dude,
wow.
listen, if we if feel free to cut these if you want and put them on your page as well. You know what I mean? If
Yeah,
we
yeah. Cool.
if we get
Send me.
into like certain conversations that would be like, let's say, short worthy or just
Yeah,
video form
would you,
worthy,
what I'll
it's
do
all
is,
it's yours, bro. If you want to cut it as well and add it to
yeah,
your catalog as well. So
no, 100%.
so here we go,
I'll do
round
that.
4 with Lomachenko and Kambosos Jr.
Generally, I think Lomachenko, if you asked me before this fight who I'd pick to win, I'd say Lomachenko on points. But it's a really interesting fight. It's heating up right now. And like you mentioned, Manny Pacquiao got robbed in Australia. You just never know with these judges in Australia, you know? Because
Right.
if we saw the last fight, it was a woman's fight, and there was an English fighter, a woman fighter, Nina Hughes fighting an Australian fighter, Sugar Neeks. I believe. I don't know if you did watch that fight. Did you watch that fight on the
I
previous
was
card?
watching that fight while I was reacting. Oh, by the way, breaking news, my man. Khabib's assets has been recently seized by the Russian government.
No way.
Yeah.
Why?
While that fight was going on, I was reacting to
Why?
Jesse on Fire video. Jesse on Fire is is an MMA content creator as well. He knows a lot of the fighters in the industry. We actually know the same people in the Northern California space. But yeah, he went and did a video on it because he also knows Khabib's manager as well. So he has sort of a little bit of knowledge behind the scenes. So I reacted to that video while
What happened
that
though?
fight was going
Why
on with those ladies.
this stuff?
So it's a lot of unknown stuff going on with that, But I sort of gave my my analysis on it from a geopolitical standpoint of what could be happening with Khabib. For
Okay.
those of you that are tapping in right now, if you want to check that out by the end of this live stream, check out the 26-minute mark of this video, because before 26 minutes, I was breaking down all the UFC fights that just happened tonight at UFC St. Louis, featuring Derek Lewis and Rodrigo Namacento, which had ended in a stoppage. So, yeah, check that out. I went and reacted to Jesse on Fire's video regarding the Khabib, and then here comes Zane at 1 hour and 44 minutes. So if you want to check yourself out in this video, it is at the 1 hour and 44 minute mark. So just remember 144. And then for those of you that want to check out my live reaction for the fights and sync along with the Kambosos Lomachenko fight, I had started reacting to that at exactly 1 hour and 32 minutes of this live stream. So just a little time stamps for all you guys out there. But yeah, man. So in between the rounds, I want to ask you what do you think about this? Obviously, this is your initial reaction, right? This is the first time you heard this news about Khabib.
Yeah, I'm shocked, to be honest, man. I can't believe the Russians have, was it the Russian police?
The Russian
They've
IRS, to be exact. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
They
See,
said that
I
he
don't know
owes.
what.
They said that he
I don't know
owes
what he's done.
3 million. And
No way.
so here's what I
What?
find really, here's what I find really strange about this, right? In America and in the UK, it is very common to arrest people for tax evasion, right? Very common, because nobody is bigger. Wesley Snipes has had issues with the tax evasion, right? This is the reason why Wesley Snipes was going to fight Joe Rogan in the cage, was because he was trying to get his tax evasion paid off. So he was going to get in the cage with Joe Rogan, probably get choked out by Joe Rogan. It was going to be Joe Rogan's MMA debut, because he never really fought MMA, right? He only fought in Taekwondo fights and kickboxing fights. So he was going to fight Wesley Snipes in the UFC.
That's
because
crazy,
Wesley
bro.
Snipes owed the U.S. Government money. Now,
All right.
that's in a land where they don't really care about your celebrity. That's one thing, but
Yeah.
we're talking about Russia, right? This is what makes it unusual. Like, what made the Russians not look the other way? Because this is a country, you got to think, right, that looks the other way for their superstars, right? Like Khabib is, he's the trophy, he's the cash cow of Russia, in terms of combat athletics. They should let him slide, right? This is the type of country that would do that. But for some reason, they didn't. And that's what really puzzles me.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the Americans coming after him for tax evasion. It's the Russians that could easily look the other way. And the question is, why are they not looking the other way? That's the question that we have to find out during this week, as we investigate further and new information comes out. So, inshallah, may Allah
Didn't know
make it
until
easy
you told
for
me
our
that.
brother, man.
I mean, man.
I feel for him,
Yeah, same, man. He's a nice character, You don't wish bad upon people like that.
But you know what? Here's something you got to understand too, right?
Yeah.
Allah tests the best of the believers. And I think that's the only reason why all of this is happening with Khabib right now. Because look, you got to think, right? Khabib is not the type of person to be really ill intent in any kind of way, right? He's not an ill intent person. He doesn't have any, corrupt nature about him. So you got to think, like, when you see, like, for example, you see what happened with Diddy getting raided like that, right? You're like, man, he deserves it. This dude, he's this and he's that. Same thing when you see that happen to Suge Knight. Suge Knight is locked up for a very long time and may never get out of prison ever. And
Yeah.
you may be a fan of him or you may not be a fan of him, but either way, you can kind of see why he deserves or got in the position where he's at. With Khabib, man, it's a little bit difficult, man, because it's like, what did he do to deserve this? Other than
Yeah.
you just have to conclude that Allah tests the best of the believers.
100%, man. Yeah.
That
The only
that's the only way you can look at this, because I'll tell you, the Russians are not going to give him any easy time for this. They're coming after him for a reason, and that's what we're trying to find out why.
mm, no, I hear you, man. It's just very shocking to hear it as well. Because even when you told me, I was baffled, man. I didn't know why they, want to do that. But obviously, now you mentioned the tax thing.
Yeah,
Even even that, he's a big star. I don't know why they're bothering him so much, you know. But like you said, Allah tests the best of believers, you know. So
yeah.
maybe it's best, you know.
Yeah. Well, but don't forget to check out, guys, the 26-minute mark of this live stream. Once this live stream goes off, because I do go into full details about that particular subject. And shout outs to Jesse on Fire for not flagging my channel for for reacting to his video. But yeah, man, I thought that he was one of the first people that actually brought it up in terms of combat sports content YouTuber, right? The
Mhm.
mainstream media isn't bringing it up. I don't know why. I didn't see any major MMA publications bring it up. Probably they're going to bring it up tomorrow because, obviously there was a fight going on tonight, and then there's Lomachenko and Kambosos tonight. Maybe they want to wait until the weekend to, really talk about it. But when I saw that, I was like, man, I got to hop on this story. And then plus, Jesse on Fire has a good understanding of business. He's also been flagged by the IRS himself. So he sort of understands sort of what's going on. But obviously, this is a different dynamic because, once again, this isn't America or England or Australia. I mean, we're talking about Russia. So, it's unpredictable what their reason is or what they're trying to do.
Mm. No, I hear you, man.
Meanwhile, Camboso seems to be really walking down Lomachenko here.
No, but the other rounds, Lomachenko was having him up, man. But now he's changed his game plan. But still, I think he's behind on the cards here. That's why
Who,
he's trying to.
Lomachenko? You think he's behind?
No, I think Kambosos is behind.
Cambosos is behind, yeah. But hey, all of that is really predicated on the three judges that are present that night. And here's the thing, right? I don't know if this is applicable in boxing as much as it is in MMA, but when you're sitting cage side as a judge, there's just so much obstruction of view that you don't see in the cage. Now,
That's
I'm
true,
not
man.
really sure where the judges sit ringside in boxing,
I
right?
think they're at the
But
front in the middle.
okay,
You see
so
the guy
okay,
with
that's
the glasses? He's wearing a suit. I think that's one of the judges there. If you can see it. But they generally sit at the front, like in the middle.
okay. So
Yeah,
sort of like uh parallel from, let's say, where the promoters sit at, right?
yeah,
Like right across where the promoters sit at.
yeah. I think Lomachenko's winning this fight though, bro. Kambosos might have his moments, but I think generally Lomachenko is making him miss and making him pay. Look at his face. If you
And
look at
just like what we predicted, considering that,
Kambosos,
like, this guy's had over 400 amateur fights, right? And that has to really really stick it into your muscle memory in terms of, just being at the right place at the right time. Like, look at the way he's placing his jab right here, right? Just
Mm.
constant jab, constant moving forward. It's like as if it's really second nature the way that he goes about it, right? Like he knows how to score points. Like even with some of the jabs that he's throwing or the fakes that he does, I mean, that does affect how a judge sort of sees the fight in terms of whether you're active or inactive. And that can sometimes determine what they perceive the fight to be looking like. And so I can kind of see why you are giving this to Lomachenko right now in terms of just, the points
Yeah,
advantage.
I don't think they can rob him because it's so. I think it's so. With 7 rounds have gone past, I think Lomachenko has won at least 5 rounds, and that's me being generous. You know,
Yeah. I
They
uh
c- but
I agree with that. I think he did win the majority of the rounds as well.
yeah, but you see the previous fight, they announced the wrong winner on the Nina Hughes fight and the women's fight, and then they announced the other person as the winner. Did you notice that?
You know what's crazy? That also happened in the UFC fights last weekend.
No way.
Yeah, one guy got choked, and then the guy that got choked, he was undefeated, right? So Bruce Buffer was like, and still undefeated. Nope, sorry,
Really?
Anthony Smith. It really went like that.
No
Like
way.
he wanted to say and still undefeated, but obviously the guy got his undefeated record taken by that choke. So Bruce was like, nope, sorry, in the middle of it while announcing it.
All right.
So it was like that. It's kind of crazy how that happened in a deja vu scenario in a different sport and in a different part of the world. But that's why I tell you, this is why it's great that you and I do these types of collaborations, because boxing and MMA as a
Mm.
sporting culture is becoming, I mean, obviously it's a different sport. It's always going to be a different sport with different rules, but within the culture of its media and coverage and what happens outside of the ring in the cage, it's all becoming one culture.
100%, man. Obviously, you get a lot of crossover fights as well nowadays.
Right.
So it's,
And they're a big contributing factor to that. And speaking of crossover fights with MMA guys going into boxing, so they were going to have the June 1st card with Diaz and Jorge Masvidal, which is a rematch from their 2019 MMA fight in UFC 244, right? But now they're going to do it with boxing rules. So they decided they were going to move that June 1st card and put it into July because they don't want it to clash with, for one, they got that 5-on-5 series, with the Saudis.
yeah.
And
They're
and
working with
which is
each
on June
other.
1st, and then Islam and Dustin Poirier is on June 1st. So the UFC was like, nah, we can't be overlapping like this, right?
Yeah.
Which is great because it's like, man, I gotta cover 3 fights that day. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm gonna cover Masvidal and Diaz boxing each other, and then real boxing in Saudi, and then real UFC in June 1st, all in June 1st. So they're like, no, we got to scratch this because even though that's a boxing match, the UFC is actually behind that boxing match. They're allowing Diaz and Jorge Masvidal to box each other.
Yeah, that's mad. It's mad how all of the MMA guys wanna cross over to the boxing nowadays.
Well, it's even more mad and crazy that
Yeah.
the UFC is allowing Diaz and Jorge Masvidal to box each other, but not Francis Ngannou, which in turn really ruined their lineage title in the heavyweight division of the UFC. Because now you don't know who the real champion is. Even
Yeah.
though John Jones has been a dominating light heavyweight champion in the UFC for a long time,
Yeah.
crowning him the heavyweight champion just didn't feel right, especially when we knew Francis left as the champion. But when Anthony Joshua laid him out, I think I think it made a lot of people look at and say, you know what, maybe he's not the real heavyweight champion either, even though it was a different discipline that he got knocked out on.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But to be fair, like you gotta give Ngannou credit, man. Like what
Yeah.
he did to Fury was impressive, man. And no one really saw that coming, you know. So he deserves a lot of credit, man. Even though Anthony Joshua knocked him out, you know, the guy came from a different sport and he arguably beat one of the best heavyweights in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Personally, I thought he won the Tyson Fury fight, but you know how boxing goes. Sometimes they just rob the people, you know?
Right. And
And,
you also got to understand, right? The Saudis wanted an undisputed fight.
mm,
It, it's one thing if they would, let's say, give the belt to Francis if he had, won it. But again, it was a non title 10 rounder.
yeah, definitely. Why
You
would you
know,
do that? You know? You should give the guy a chance to fight for the title. But they did that just to save the undisputed heavyweight
because
title.
because
You know?
remember, this was one of the basis of our conversations in the first content that you and I did together. I
Mm.
remember asking you in that particular content, like, wait, is that me playing in the background, or is that I hear an echo? Are you playing our you got to mute one thing if that's
Can you hear me?
yeah, no, I can hear you.
You're good
Hello?
now.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was one of the bases of our conversation when we first did a video together. I said, what would happen if Francis Ngannou was to win, but he can't win the belt? Because they already had this scheduled matchup for Usyk.
Mm.
Remember, because the fight was in August 2023. They were going to do it for December. And then they're like, all right, scratch that. It was a little too soon. He needs to recover. So they moved it to February. And that was going to be on the same day as Ilya Tapora beat Volkanovski. By the way, you were in Spain while that was happening. How about that for a little sports almanac moment, right? You were in Spain when the first Spanish UFC champion was crowned.
Oh yeah.
And that
Yeah,
was
that's
supposed to be on the same day that Fury and Usyk were supposed to fight. Instead, we're getting it next week.
yeah. It's
So a
gonna be
little sports almanac for all those that are listening right now to sort of give you a perspective on where we are with this undisputed championship in the heavyweight division in boxing. So ninth round, here we go. Still the same thing by Lomachenko. Just very, I mean, look, here's the thing, right? Both of these guys are both equally athletic and have great attributes behind him. And one can even argue maybe Kambosos is a little bit stronger. Maybe he's a little bit more of the power hitter. But
yeah,
man, skills really pay the bills when it comes to the highest level of boxing. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
yeah, definitely, man. I agree with you, man. Uh,
Like just the constant level
Kambosos is game,
changes.
man. I think
Was
he's
that?
gonna be till Kambosos. He's game, man. Even though he's getting hit a lot, he's not. He's not got a heart to quit, you know. So I think he's gonna see the final bell, man. But he's
Yeah.
getting a beat down, slow beat down by Lomachenko. Like you said, skills are paying the bills, and he's just making Kambosos miss and pay at the moment.
And here's
Mm.
something I notice about Lomachenko, right? Like when he circles on you, it's very subtle, but then
Yeah,
he also switches it up out of nowhere, and then he'll switch angles on you
yeah,
while he's giving these subtle shots. Whereas before, it's a little bit different, right? He was less flat footed when he was earlier in his career, but now he's sort of learning how to, fight in a way where he's sort of, planting his foot down a little bit, foot down, but also circling at the same time. You know, so it is a little bit different. You know, I'm not sure if that's just based on just adjusting to the different competition that's in front of him, or is just a conscious style change that he decided to make somewhere down the line.
Mm. I think he changed his style a little bit when he lost that Teofimo Lopez fight. And maybe when he lost that Haney fight as well, because that was a close fight.
Yeah.
He's putting a beat down on Kambosos Jr. right now, though. You can see the marks on Kambosos' face.
Yeah. Even though Kambosos is a world level boxer and a world level championship boxer at that, there's that, and then there's the elite. Right? And then even as elite as Lomachenko is, till this day, it's still surprising that Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez beat him. But then you also look at where Theo and Devin Haney are at right now, and it's just like, wow, man, this is what boxing should be. Because we see this in MMA, right? Where this guy beats this guy, but the guy who beat the other guy didn't beat the guy who beat him, and all these different, scenarios, or these different matchups, or these different matchup math that we can sort of analyze, right? It's like, just because one guy beat the other guy, it doesn't mean that that guy will beat him also. And I think that's where a division is stacked and healthy when it comes to that. And Theo, Devin, Lomachenko, all top elite guys, but there's still guys in that same division that have their kryptonite in some kind of way. And it just so happens that Tank Davis is the one guy that nobody has figured out yet.
No, you're right, man. 100%. Just because another fighter beat another fighter doesn't mean that fighter will beat him, you know?
Right. And who knows, maybe like in a hypothetical scenario, I mean, as strange as it is, what if, let's say, Kambosos is the guy that can actually beat Tank Davis, but for whatever reason, Kambosos can't beat Loma, he can't beat Lopez, but for whatever reason, he can beat Devin. Or maybe these other guys that haven't fought Devin, not Devin, Tank, maybe they can beat Tank and we just don't know it. Because realistically, the biggest name that Tank took on was Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you want to add Yorkis Gamboa to that. Boy, 50 Cent ruined that guy's career, bro. 50 ruined his career. 50, I'm telling you, man, as great as he was in the world of rap, man, he had no business being an Eddie Hearn of New York. You know what I mean? He had no business being a boxing promoter. Remember that when he used to promote Gamboa?
Yeah, I remember. That was crazy. I never thought I'd see that happen. It was actually
for real. And considering that, I mean, I don't know. It just, I would not have thought that would be a 50 Cent guy. You know what I mean? Like Gamboa, man, I don't even know if the guy is really up on his English like that for him to really understand the culture that 50 Cent comes from. Right? And now somebody like Adrian Broner, that guy would look like he would rock G-Unit gear back in the days, into his entrance of fights. You know what I mean? But not Gamboa. I just think 50 saw Gamboa as, oh, this guy's an Olympian. I think I could take him to the title and maybe, fight him off till he's undefeated. And a real miscalculation on his part.
Yeah. No, I hear that. It's true, man. He wasn't there for very long though.
Yeah. Which kind of tells you, right? Just because you're an Olympian, it doesn't mean it's going to translate best into the pros.
Yeah,
Sort of like,
no, sometimes it
sort
doesn't happen.
sort of like David Price. Remember him?
Yeah.
Man, at one point, Tyson Fury was ducking David Price.
Yeah, that was
He's
crazy.
like, "What? Another 6'9" guy?" I'm like, "No, I'm looking the other way." You know what I mean? He didn't want none of that smoke with David Price. I'll bet a part of him regrets it.
I remember that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because then everybody started chinning David Price. You know,
Yeah.
even Cash Ali was about to chin David Price until he bit him.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember that? Dude, I was
remember.
so excited for that dude.
Oh,
When he got that David Price fight. I was like, I saw videos of Cash Ali. I was like, okay, this is cool. You know, you got a Pakistani heavyweight in there. You know what I mean? And then I watched some of his videos, some of his vlogs and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? This dude's pretty hood. You know what I mean? I like this dude. But man, he was just too hood to the point where he bit David Price, bro. And
crazy.
it's a weird way of biting him too, because it's not like they were in a standing clinch position the way Tyson and Holyfield were. I mean, he bit him when they were on the ground.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
know.
mean? Like, he really was deliberate in trying to do that. Oh, look at the punches landed in this, and it's really showing in Kambosos' face right now.
Yes, bro. I told you.
Just all the fakes that he's doing too. You know, just the the frantic fake motion that he does. You see, he throws his jab out there. He knows one's not going to hit, but then he moves forward, and then that one hits, and then he follows it up with a 1-2.
Loma's boxing really well, man. Oh,
Like, just absolute precision in his aim.
yeah, it's really good, man.
Look at that. And
Yeah.
level changes
Kambosos
too on top of that.
He's not giving up till the final bell, man.
No, not at all.
But this is, I don't think they're gonna rob Lomachenko, even if it will be impressive if Lomachenko can stop him here. But
It
like I
doesn't
said,
seem like that right now. I think that the trajectory that Lomachenko is at right now, he's comfortable where he's at. In order for him to put him away, he would have to take a risk, have to open himself up a little bit, and I don't think that he's willing to do that while he's ahead. And Kambosos would have to make a major mistake, maybe get countered to a certain degree for him to, the very least, get knocked down. But there's none of that in this fight. It's just all Lomachenko so far, and doing it very comfortably too.
yes.
Oh, little slip there. That's a slip. That's not a knockdown. Oh, what is this? Body shot. Oh, that was a hard body shot. Bro, you just called a finish. Hold up. Hold up.
What do you mean? It finished?
No. It's about to. Look at this. That's it. Oh, he said it's done. It's done.
Well, it stopped him.
It's done. Yeah, from that body shot, he counted him to the 8. He got up, and then Loma came and finished right after. So
No way.
11th round stoppage.
I'm just seeing it now. Oh shit. Oh shit. Shit, you're right, man. It stopped him. I told you, bro. Told you. All have been.
Yeah, you called that in mid-fight, bro. You called that mid-fight that was going to happen. And lo and behold.
Oh shit, yeah, it stopped. Yeah. My oh shit, yeah. My thing was a little bit slower than yours today.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. Nah, you know what it was? Loma was so impressive that the only thing left was to try and stop Kambosos, and that's what I said. Like to
And he
hit
went to the
on
body.
the icing on the cake to stop um Kambosos, and he did that. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Oh, wait, it was not a body. Hold up. So, okay, he jabs him right here. He goes for an uppercut. Kambosos misses. And
Yeah,
then Loma comes in and counters with a cross
yeah.
after he goes and throws an uppercut. Okay, and then there's the body shot. Okay, that's the body shot. Okay. So then that was okay. There was a body shot. Yes, there was a body shot, but the cross sort of put him down also. And then, yeah, and then he just came and went for the finish right after.
That was impressive though, man.
Yeah, it was an accumulation of the face damages, which,
Yeah.
by the way, was really genius on Loma to go to the body. Because look, if you're getting constantly hit in the face, right? And then it's
Yeah.
just constantly happening over and over again. The body is the last thing that you're thinking about, right? So in
100%.
those few, and this is what I said, the only way that this would be at a finish is if, let's say, Kambosos makes a grave mistake, and the mistake was that he didn't protect his body
Yeah, he
because, quite
didn't.
frankly, he didn't. He didn't think that it was going to happen. Look at his face; it was busted up. He took about 200 shots to the face, and the one shot to the body he just didn't see coming.
Good win for Loma there, man.
Yeah, real impressive, and then on top of the fact that it's a stoppage.
Yeah, man.
Because obviously he could have just rode this out in a very comfortable fashion, just jabbed
It
his way
looked
to
like that as
victory.
well. It looked
Yeah,
like it was gonna go the distance. But to be fair, Loma, he closed the show, man. And that's what you do as a champion, man. You know how to close the show, you know?
man, and they're fighting in the morning time right now.
Yeah.
This is like a morning session. You know what I mean? Like you go in the gym for a morning session, but for
For
them
the
it's a fight. You know what I mean? Like in the morning time, like it's
definitely, man. This is a great fight, man. But next week, who do you got? Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk?
so our boy Michael Kelly wrote reasons why he thinks Usyk is going to win, right? Did you
Yeah.
see that one?
Yeah, I saw it still. I
What
think,
he wrote? Let me see. I'm gonna pull this up just so I
think he
can
did.
give a
Yeah.
perspective, right? Because what he says is what a lot of uh Usyk supporters are saying. Um in terms of like skill, in terms of, I think he even mentions that he gives strength to Usyk. Okay, let's see what he wrote here, because this is interesting, right? But I agree with all of it. This is the funny thing about this, right? I agree with what he says, but I'm
No,
going to
he's
tell you
very
why.
solid.
I'm going to tell you why Usyk still loses anyway. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
pull up what he best shape ever. No, that's not it. Hold on. Where is this? Oh, okay, here it is. 2 days ago that he had mentioned this, right? Let me see if I can share this right here. Hopefully, he doesn't get mad at me for sharing this, but here we go. Let me share this right here. So this is what our man here wrote right here. Let's see. Okay, so this is what he wrote, right? You know, Fury Usyk next week. Okay, so keep in mind the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because I agree with all of this. Even though I agree with all of this, I still think Fury is going to win, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so he says speed goes to Usyk. Power. Okay, so, that one I was wrong because I thought he was going to say Usyk had the power. He says Fury. You can't deny that. 6'9", almost 300 pounds, 265 at his best weight. He says stamina, Usyk. Reflexes, Fury. I agree with that. Ring generalship, Fury. Better chin, Usyk. What gives? Okay, I guess because he's never been chinned, I suppose. But what constitutes having a better chin? Actually getting chinned and then getting up like the Undertaker, or never getting chinned at all and not knowing how you're going to react in that. So yeah, I mean, that better chin. Okay, you'll give that to Usyk. I could understand why. Heart equal. I can't split them. Okay, well, I'll even argue maybe Fury has more of the heart in that one because he's been tested. Defense, he says Usyk. Yeah, I can't deny that. He seems more defensively sound. Mental strength, Usyk. Yeah, I can't deny that either because I don't know if Tyson Fury has ever been in any gun bucking situation or anything like that. And obviously, Usyk is living in a war zone, supposedly. Okay, but he says accuracy, Usyk. Okay, that's debatable, that last part. I would give that to either guy. Okay, but here it is. It goes like this, right? Everything that Michael here says is correct, but why do I still think that Tyson Fury is going to win regardless? Because number one, speed. If you're 6'9", almost 300 pounds, and you're taking on Usyk, who's how
No,
much
I hear
does
that,
he?
man. I think
Go ahead. What are you saying? Zane?
can you hear
Oh,
me,
there you
bro?
go. What were you saying? Yeah. What were you saying? You think what?
Sorry, I had to go outside. But can you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect, brother. So, no. So, what were you saying? Oh, Zane. Zane got cut off there for a second. So, let's go back to this, right? Hold on a second. Let me give Zane the link here. Okay, there he is. Okay, perfect. All right, add to the stage. Okay. So you were saying before we had got cut off.
Yeah, so I was saying, like, I personally think Fury's gonna win as well, you know. I think you're right. The reason why I say that is because I think he's taken this fight seriously. And by the way he looks like he's trained seriously for this fight. And he's lost a lot of weight. Whereas a lot of people are underestimating him because of the performance he put up against Ngannou. You get what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing, right? So with Ngannou, the reason why that happened is for the same reason why Fury is going to beat Usyk. So let's go back to this, right? Now, Michael Kelly says speed. I'm going to tell you why that doesn't matter. So why that doesn't matter is because you can have all the speed in the world, but if a big man hits you with a long jab from afar,
Yeah.
you're going to feel it, and your speed is going to be null and voided.
No,
Okay,
100%.
so the power you give that he gives that to Fury. Michael Kelly gives that to Fury.
The power, yeah.
He's going to utilize this in a very brutal fashion, in the same way that Ngannou was able to use the power in a brutal fashion to get where he needed to get to in the Fury fight.
Yeah.
Michael Kelly says stamina. Do I agree with that? Here's the bottom line about this. This is where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter. In MMA,
Yeah.
one guy having more stamina than the other guy can help. But in high-level boxing, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you why. In high-level boxing, there is a certain pace, a certain aerobic pace that high-level boxers can operate in. In other words, they can operate at an autopilot mode. We saw that with Lomachenko just now. He operated in a very autopilot mode, which is why we sort of suspected and thought, you know what? This match is going to go to a decision because he's just operating on autopilot. In other words, they're not overextending themselves. They're not exerting themselves in a way that they don't need to. This is how a high-level professional boxer at a world level operates. So this is why the stamina won't matter as much, because they're going to operate in the same energy efficient manner. And by the way, this is one thing that boxers at the highest level are really good at, is energy sufficiency. In other words, they know how to exert enough energy to score points, but they also know how to hold back in terms of allowing themselves to have good defense and a good defensive mechanism all throughout the fight. So again, I don't think the stamina will matter here. And then on top of that, when you're facing a bigger guy that will lean on you and will use all of his weight. And by the way, when they get to the ropes, Tyson Fury is going to lean his big old bald head of his right into Usyk's chin and right into his chest.
That's true. Just size factor, isn't it?
And then you're going to see the stamina level that Michael Kelly says that Usyk is more superior in. It's going to evaporate as the rounds go on. And you've seen Dylan White implement this same strategy as well in what was the fight that he implemented this strategy on? It was, I think, against Joseph Parker.
Oh yeah.
He used that same tactic. And then on top of that, being 6'9", he's going to use that towering body of his and lean all that weight onto him. So let's go on to let's go on to the next thing that that he says here, right? He gives reflexes to Fury and ring generalship to Fury as well. Okay. So this alone, these two factors that he has right here on the screen, number 4 and number 5, those two alone are enough for Tyson Fury to win this fight.
Yeah, 100%.
So in other words, number 4 and number 5 on the screen that you're seeing right now, that is literally enough for the size and the long attributes of Fury to win. Now, number 6, he says better chin. I don't think that this will matter.
Yeah.
This won't matter because this is a fight that's going to go to the points.
Yeah, I think so. I think it goes points as well. I 100% agree. The thing with Usyk is Tyson. He's game. Like, he's not gonna quit. You understand? And obviously, the way I see it, I think there's weight classes for a reason, isn't it? And obviously, when you got a small guy against a big guy, usually the bigger skilled guy usually wins if they're in different weight classes, you know. And I just think he's just a smaller fighter than Fury, you know. Usyk is. Fury's a natural heavyweight, and he's a very big heavyweight. And when he's taking this fight seriously, you know what I'm saying, you can see what type of shape he's in. And he looks better than he did going into the Ngannou fight, so he's definitely prepared to definitely give a better performance this time around. And you can see he's not underestimated Alexander Usyk. But I can't completely rule out Usyk though. But I do favour Fury as well, like you mentioned, with all the things that Michael Kelly had brought up. You know, you kind of have to favour Fury. You know what I mean? With regards to ring generalship and reflexes.
Yeah, this is why I say that he's correct, but this is why it's important to understand why he's correct. But it's also important to understand why, even though he's correct,
Yeah.
all of those things will be null and voided based on the size of Fury alone, and not only his size, but the fact that he's coming in here in shape. So he has the size, and then he's in shape. Those are two deadly combinations that Alexander Usyk has to deal with. Also, here's another thing that I wanted to mention, right, that I think is worth mentioning. So, you know who Tyson Fury trains with in the UFC heavyweight division, right?
Who's that?
Tom Aspinall.
Okay.
So, this is interesting because Tom Aspinall's current rival right now is John Jones.
Okay.
And John Jones is the Alexander Usyk of MMA. You want to know why? Because Usyk was undisputed at 205 or 200 pounds. That's the cruiserweight division. 205 in MMA is obviously light heavyweight. So, yeah, John was basically the cruiserweight champion of the UFC. And then when Ngannou left, he came and took the vacated belt. So, what are some things that I notice about John Jones and Alexander Usyk that are very similar? I'm going to tell you this. John Jones, when he became a heavyweight, he got a lot slower.
Okay.
Now,
Really?
Usyk, when you say that this is the same comparison with Usyk, when he became a heavyweight, didn't he get slower? Doesn't he look slow? Look, in comparison to the Gassiev fight that Alexander Usyk did, and then all those other cruiserweight fights that he did, I mean, he looked like lightning in those fights, in those cruiserweight fights.
He did, man. To be honest, like his cruiserweight fights, he looked really good in them. But he had to go up in weight to challenge himself. So that's a credit to him as well, though. To be fair, like when you got great fighters, they always dominate weight classes. You know, that's not their natural size as well. You got to give him a lot of credit for that as well.
Yeah, but he looks slow doing it. Now, here's the question, right?
Yeah.
Is he operating slower because he feels that he wants to be a lot more energy sufficient and can get away with being energy sufficient in the heavyweight division, or is he just naturally slower because of the weight that he put on?
I think it's the weight that he's put on. You see, when you go up in weight classes, you're not always going to have the same advantage as you had at your natural weight classes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to give up something. And like you said, he's gone a bit slower. I think personally he's gotten a bit slower because of the extra weight he has to put on. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but you know what? Full credit to Usyk because he came up and he beat Anthony Joshua, and it wasn't even once; it was twice, I believe. So that's massive. You get what I mean?
Right. So before I wanted to talk about how Usyk beat Anthony Joshua, right? I wanted to say this, right? So John Jones, when he moved up a weight, he actually used it to his advantage because what he did in his first heavyweight fight was he just took the guy down, out wrestled him, took him to the ground. And by the way, the heavier that you are, the easier that it is for you to do this, right? So obviously we're talking about a different mechanics in sports. But here's something that is really fascinating about Tom Aspinall. He boxes like Fury.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's very elusive for a heavyweight. And because with Tom, just like Fury growing up, Fury sparred and trained with a lot of lighter guys, right? This is what made him faster. Tom Aspinall, now he trains with heavyweights, but when he was coming up, he was training with smaller guys. He was even training and sparring with Muhammad Makayev, if you could believe that.
Oh, wait. Wow.
Yeah. So he had to deal with a different level of speed that the heavier guys didn't have to deal with in the gym. And by the way, this is a Muhammad Ali sparring tactic. Did you know this? Muhammad Ali back in the day said he would invite welterweights and middleweights to come spar with him because he wanted to feel that speed at that, at that weight class. And and then the history wrote itself. You've seen how it did him good in the long run. But with Tom, obviously now Tom is training with heavyweights. He's training with a lot of UK heavyweights that now fight in the UFC, some UK heavyweight guys that fight overseas, that fight out in Poland. So now he has a good team to get him prepared for heavyweight MMA. And then he boxes with Tyson Fury on top of that in some weekends. So so now he's adjusted into the heavyweight division. But going into the Anthony Joshua and Usyk fight, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted to mention. Now, Anthony Joshua lost because he just didn't have the foot speed that Fury has. And I think the fact that Alexander Usyk beat Anthony Joshua twice, I think is what is making people really feel confident in Usyk just based on his performance of Anthony Joshua alone.
Yeah.
But this is why you can't look at boxing math or MMA math as the phrase has been, been originated from, right? We always say, you can't do MMA math, right? So this is the topic of discussion right now. They say that just because Khabib was able to beat Islam, it doesn't mean that Islam can beat Dustin Poirier.
Yeah,
why Khabib beat Dustin Poirier? It doesn't mean Islam can beat him.
Doesn't work like that all the time. Sometimes it works out like that. It does, but that's not necessarily the case all the time, man. Because as you know, styles make fights, isn't it?
Styles make fights. That's right. That's right. And Usyk has a different style that was very difficult for Anthony Joshua to deal with. Now, I think that Fury has a style.
Stay with me 1 minute, yeah. I'm just gonna grab something from the shops and I'm coming back, yeah. So
no problem. I'll keep talking from here, and then I'll you know how I do. Oh yeah, go ahead. I'll take over from here. Yeah. So before Zane comes back, I want to tell you guys this, right? So again, styles make fights. It is very different from fighter to fighter, right? You also got to understand Usyk coming in here is relying a lot on his foot speed. Not only is he relying a lot on his foot speed, it's also a foot speed that is heavily declining. Now, you look at the shape of Tyson Fury right now. He's obviously in tremendous shape. In other words, he's going to be a lot faster going into this fight. This is the reason why he cut all this weight in order for him to be a lot lighter. Now, a couple of things I saw online today. They talk about how, I think Fury is going to be drained for this fight. And I said, drained? Why? Why on earth would you think that Tyson Fury is going to be drained from this fight? Well, the reason why they think that he's going to be drained from this fight is because he lost a lot of weight. They're correlating the weight loss of Tyson Fury as this excruciating weight cut that a lot of the lighter fighters go through. And that's not the case here. That's something that a lot of people have to understand. So now Zane is back.
Back.
As I was saying, Zane, while you are in the shop, I was telling people that
Mhm.
that the fact that Fury is lighter right now,
Mhm.
it's going to be dangerous for Alexander Usyk, on top of the fact that he relies a lot of his skills from his foot speed that is ever declining in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, he does. He definitely relies on his skills and stuff. But maybe Fury's just that too big for him, man. You know, and too powerful.
I was also saying while you were in the shop that I've been reading something online where some people were saying that they think that the weight loss of Tyson Fury is going to drain him here. And I thought to myself, I think they're correlating this idea from lighter weight class guys who literally have to cut weight that is unnecessary. So in other words, what I'm saying is that Fury being lean right now,
Yeah.
he's not going to lean himself even more to the point where he's going to starve himself or dehydrate himself to make a weight. That's not what he's doing here. I
No.
think they're just looking at the fact that, oh, you know, he looks skinny now or this and that. It's kind of like this, right? If you're let's say a heavy set individual, okay, and you lose some weight, and let's say
Yeah.
you lose tremendous amounts of weight, like the type of weight that, let's say, marathon runners lose, right?
Yeah.
Automatically, people would think that you're on crack or something like that. This is the mindset that a lot of people have. Oh my goodness, you're so skinny now. Are you taking drugs or something like that? Like this is something that a lot of people who don't understand weight cutting, don't understand extreme sports, or you know, let's say marathon running or any of these sports that can lean you out, they're not going to understand this, right? They see somebody get leaned out and they're like, oh, you're taking crack or you're doing coke or, you know, you're snorting again or this and that. This is what they correlate it as. So when they look at Fury, they are thinking like as if he is a welterweight fighter that is trying to lose weight from being 170 pounds all the way down to 147 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not what he's doing here.
No.
He's not trying to lose 30 pounds. He's trying to lose the weight that he doesn't need.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Not the weight that
I'm with
he's
you
trying
with
to. What was that?
I definitely agree with you on that. I think it's not going to make a difference. I think it's going to make him even better. To be fair.
Yeah. So this idea that yeah, he's going to be drained. It's yeah, it was a bit ludicrous for me to, you know, accept that. But again, I think they're only correlating what they saw with lighter weight fighters, and you know, I just don't think it's the same in the heavyweight division. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
no,
these guys, the one advantage that you have about fighting in heavyweight is you can really give yourself the full nutrients that you need.
Yeah.
You know, but on the other end of that stick, you can also overeat yourself out of your performance.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a good fight, though.
Oh man, and a long time coming, bro. You know what I mean? Like for one, the first problem was the money. Then the Saudis came in. And then when the Saudis came in, they're like, there's no money problems. Now it was just a whole bunch of injury problems, a whole bunch of delays. And
By the
here
way,
we
I
are.
was going to ask you, you see the Saudis? Are they working with the UFC now, right?
Yes. Uh-huh. For the Kamzat card. The Kamzat and
Yes.
Robert Whitaker card.
It's really good.
Wait, I'm sorry. You were breaking up. Say that again.
So that's really good that they're giving opportunities to the UFC fighters as well now, you know?
Right. Here's the thing, though, right? I think there's something that's going to be a little bit different than that, right? Now, will this affect the change of pay in the UFC? I'm going to tell you right now, no. It's not going to change. It will change what the Saudis are going to give the UFC, but the question is, will the UFC share some of that money with the fighters?
Would they do that?
That right there, What's that?
Will they do that? Will Dana White like pay them more now they're working with the Saudis? Would you think so?
I'm 50-50 on it, but I'm leaning more towards the side of no. And I'm
Oh,
going to tell
really?
you why. Yeah, because the contracts that these guys are under are with the UFC, not the Saudis, right? Their contracts are still owned by the UFC. The Saudis are only there to facilitate, let's say, a commercial value. Not only a commercial value, but a free commercial and advertisement for their tourism.
Okay.
So, yes, will the Saudis give Dana White and the Endeavor and WME and TKO and WWE, who are now all, which is crazy to say, right? I never thought in my lifetime I would say that WWE and UFC are the same company.
That's crazy. I
And
didn't know that.
Disney,
Yeah.
WWE, and the UFC are all, and this is strange because at one point the UFC was a fringe underground product, and now they're down with the Saudis. They're down with the Saudis, they're down with Disney, and they're down with the WWE.
That's
You know,
mad,
and it
man.
doesn't get any more mainstream than that.
Yeah.
But they're going to maintain business as usual. And I'm going to tell you the difference, right? So in boxing, remember what Eddie Hearn said, right? He said, I work for Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
That's not how it is in MMA. You work for Dana White.
Yeah.
Dana White doesn't work for you because,
Yeah.
believe it or not, it's as a UFC fighter, it's your own responsibility to promote your own self. And then the UFC comes and follows up. Because you see, realistically, like when fighters talk about how they complain considering that like the UFC doesn't promote them, this is a reason why. They promote you, but within a minimal effort. And that minimal effort is, okay, you know how they have the UFC embedded, right? How they give you like a vlog, a video vlog of what's going on in the fight week. Matchroom does that as well. I think they copied from the UFC. Queensberry, they also do that. Top Rank, PBC. They all copy this from the UFC, right? It's a great concept, right? So they're going to promote you in their fight week. The countdown shows, you know, the all access shows that they do. That's how they promote you. But outside of that, you have to go and promote yourself. You have to go and create your own buzz. You know, this is a reason why Patty, who's an unranked fighter, gets paid more than guys that are fighting for the championships. Because Patty knew how to build a following. He knew that, hey, you know what? I got this blonde hair. I'm a Scouser. I got an accent. With that, I have a following because you know how Liverpool sports fans are. Whether they are for Liverpool FC or whether they are for British boxing and international boxing and MMA, they're going to ride with you. So Patty used that. Same thing with Conor McGregor. This is something that a lot of guys don't understand, that a lot of these fighters did their own legwork for them to promote themselves. So it's a little bit different. So with the Saudis, when they're dealing with the boxer and the promoter, they're dealing with the boxer first and then the promoter. Whereas their partnership with the UFC, they are dealing with the UFC and the UFC throws them fights and fighters.
100%, man.
So they give the Saudis give the UFC money, and then it's up to the UFC's executive board what they're going to do with the money and who they're going to give that money to.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, it'll be business as usual.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks for UFC fighters, man. Because I thought generally they're gonna get paid more now.
Well, you think that because the boxers are. But the reason why the boxers are is because, well, there's the Ali Act. in boxing, right? And for whatever reason, that's not enacted in MMA. Because I'll tell you what the UFC did that I think was like genius but evil at the same time, right? This is what they did. They monopolized an entire sport. That's one, right? So, in other words, are there going to be other MMA leagues? Yes. There's always going to be other MMA leagues, but there's always going to be one UFC.
Yeah.
And they know this, right? So, that's one. The other thing is that they, even though it's a real sport and it's a real competition, they somehow don't look the government. I'm talking about the government officials. They don't look at it the same way as boxing. They look at MMA more like professional wrestling, but with real fighting.
Mm.
So, in other words, like in professional wrestling, they
Yeah.
don't regulate what Vince McMahon pays the wrestlers. They don't regulate that. In boxing, they had to regulate that because, once again, it's a more familiar sport and a sport that has a longer lineage than MMA.
Yeah, that's true.
MMA is just a sport where, like, all right, you know what is this sport you guys do again? Oh, well, we kick and we punch each other, and then we grapple with each other. Okay, so sort of like grappling and kickboxing mixed together. Yes. Okay, now let's regulate it. But to actually control the monetary side of that sport, for whatever reason, it just doesn't click in the uh, governmental process of an athletic commission. So this is the reason why these MMA fighters in the UFC are easily exploited than any other sport. More so than in boxing. Obviously, boxers are way more protected. So that's what it is. When the Saudis said they were going to do a fight with the UFC, they didn't go to Kamzat and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" They went directly to Dana White.
Yeah.
But when the Saudis wanted to make Usyk and Fury, they didn't just go to Eddie Hearn or Usyk's manager or anything like that. They went directly to the fighters. And then they had the promoters sit alongside with them. Well, for one, they had to get the fighters to agree to fight, and then they talked to Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Hey, what kind of production do you want to do? What kind of video setting do you want to do? What kind of fight week extravaganza you guys want to do? Right?
Yeah.
With the UFC and Saudis, it's Dana White and the owners and the board of directors, and who cares about what the fighters think as long as they show up on fight day, and that's really what's going on here. So, will they get more money? Probably in a bonus setting, like when, like I'm sure there's going to be a few Saudi royal family members that are be like, hey, listen, here's a check. I like that you choked this guy out in this fight. Okay, here's a bonus. Dana White's going to give them a public bonus, and then they're going to get a private bonus. And yeah, something like that. But to actually change their contract overall, I don't think that's what the Saudis are there for. They're only there to facilitate as a site, as a site. And not only that, they'll probably sponsor American UFC events also, just like what they did with the Terrence Crawford and the Israel fight that's coming up in August. That's an LA card, but it's a Saudi sponsored LA card.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, you're right. But it's kind of a shame that the UFC fighters don't get paid enough, because I feel that they deserve it, man. But it is what it is, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of like in the military, right? I could tell you this, right? When I told people what I had made as as an E1 private first class Marine, like they were like, "What?" I was like, because there's a lot of Americans that have different family members that are in different armed forces, right? So when I got into the armed forces after high school, I was like, man, I want to do the hardest military branch, the hardest basic training. What is that? They're like, well, it's the Marine Corps. It's like, all right, well, I want to do that one. Okay, but little did I know that the hardest military branch paid the least.
Wow.
They paid the least out of all other branches. You know, the Air Force, the Navy, they got more money. The Army got more money because they have a bigger funding. But the Marine Corps is, you know, they're not a big organization. Plus, the Marine Corps is attached to the Navy. So so the same thing with MMA. MMA looks like in the surface more of a brutal sport, and you would think that because it looks more brutal than boxing, that somehow they should get paid more, and that's not the case. You know what I mean? The fact that it's more brutal is probably the reason why they get paid less.
That's crazy, man. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have thought. Yeah. But yeah, like, I wanted to see that better BFS Bivol fight, man. But
So
now we're
that's
not.
off now, huh? That fight is completely off.
Yeah. It's a
What a
shame, man.
shame. What a
I was
shame.
looking forward to that fight. That
Yeah.
was a good fight. But
And-
yeah, like Ammo Williams versus Shiraz, what do you think's gonna happen in that fight? That's a good fight.
What do I think is going to happen in that fight?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I think anybody that's watching this right now knows what we're going to say,
Yeah.
and it's Hamza Shiraz all the way, baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's Hamza Shiraz all the way. And I think, I tell you what this fight reminds me of? It reminds me of when they had Lawrence Okoli fight Chamberlain. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Remember when they fought? During that time, before that fight, we're like, great, we got these two big prospects, right? One guy's a Frank Warren guy, the other's an Eddie Hearn guy, and miraculously, they were able to make that fight go about.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, we thought it was a 50-50 fight going into it. But then in reality, as time went on, we realized that Lawrence Okoli was the superior boxer. Of course, Lawrence Okoli had his losses after that fight, but he made it to becoming a world champion a whole lot quicker than Chamberlain did, and I think that's just what we're going to see out of Ammo Williams and Hamza Shiraz. You know, this is a rookie of the year fight.
Yeah.
Kind of like when Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James were alumni rookies together back in 2004, 2005. You know, but look at the career of LeBron James in comparison to Carmelo Anthony.
Bro,
Right?
my battery's gonna die, man. My battery. I'll try to come back on, yeah?
Hey, well, you know what? This is actually a good. I've been on for 3 hours now. Actually, you know, I think it's a good time to call it off right now. So let everybody know your handles and your social media and your YouTube and where they can find you, and then we'll sign it off from here. Zane, you there? Or we can just call it off right here. You there, Zane? All right. Well, I think Zane just lost his battery. We'll just take it from here. I want to thank everybody who has joined us in this live chat. Obviously, we did a whole lot more than just do a live chat. We also covered aspects of breaking news with Khabib. We also talked about the upcoming fights with Fury and Usyk, and also Ammo Williams and Hamza Shiraz. So, yeah, I think it's time to call it quits for the night. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys like this content. Oh, and by the way, next video that I'm going to put out, it's going to be Jim Jones, did he snitch? Part 2. And in part 3, I'm going to finish it sometime this week in a separate video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope to see you guys soon. And check out all my new videos and all the latest ones that I've had. Also, the Jim Jones video that I made, that's up there. Also, the part 2 that I'm going to make, I'm going to upload right after I get out of this stream. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share to tell a friend, and to tell a friend. And I will see you guys soon, inshallah.